This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in.
What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Phil Porto, aka Phil All Caps, and we are back with another episode of the Knicks Nightcap, and I am looking forward to this one. There is a lot of talks about what is going on with the New York Knicks right now, and me and Apollo are going to break down everything that we've seen over the last week or so, and we're going to be able to chop it up with my guy Todd, who runs a brand called Baxis, and he is a diehard Knicks fan as well. So it's always good to have someone from the whiskey community that is a diehard Knicks fan and can talk Knicks with us, as well as my friend David Thomas, who is one of the best whiskey writers in the game. And he is also a diehard Knicks fan. So I'm looking forward to having these guys on the show. I'm looking forward to being able to chop it up with everybody. And most of all, I'm looking forward to having my guy, Apollo, hanging out with us and just talking Knicks and enjoying ourselves. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up my guy, Apollo.
Yo, what's good, man? How you doing?
Come on, bro. How's it going?
What up? I'm here, man. Making it, man. Long week, but I'm here.
Speaking of long week, I got to see Apollo this week, which is always awesome.
That was dope. Nice little link up. It's always cool when you get to see the people that you see online in real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the only thing that sucked was I I met up with Apollo to deliver him samples for the season, and I got him samples for all week except for next week. So I dropped the friggin' ball and I was like, yo, you got those samples, right? He's like, nah, bro, I don't. So I got to figure out how to get those to him, as well as our co-host for next week, which is going to be the one and only Mr. Sky Zoo, who's got a new album, and he'll be rocking with us next week, talking Knicks and just breaking things down. Before we get going, I do want to give some shout outs to those that, have supported us this season and continue to support us. Like right now, I'm rocking this hat right here by this brand called Shootin' Doubles. They are a brand that has some dope whiskey content stuff. It says life is better with whiskey, which is true, which is why I'm going to be breaking down some whiskey stuff today. And then Apollo, you got a hat that you're rocking right now. That right there is from Scouts. I'm going to get the link for theirs real quick as well. Check them out. They're a really cool company as well, doing really cool things. I think it's
SCKOUT.
Yeah, Scout.
I want to take it. It's a lot to do right now, so
figure it out. Check out the hat. Let me know so I could search it on Instagram real quick. But they are freaking awesome as well, and they're putting out some really dope merch, and they sent me and Apollo those hats to be able to rock throughout the season. So shout out to them for that. And then last but not least, I want to shout out this brand right here. They're called Brooklyn Dreamer, and they're just really, really good people in the Knicks community. So my guy Brooklyn Dreamer and I connected online, and he sent me over a really, really dope care package, like really, really fire. And so I'm going to share the screen real quick. It's actually this shirt that I'm wearing right here. I'm going to take off the little name tag so that you guys can see it real quick, but it says Brooklyn Dreamer here on the front. And once again, I'm not going to turn around and show you guys my back. So I'm going to pull up this right here to give you guys a little look at what we got. Where's it at? Brooklyn. All right, so Brooklyn Dreamer right here. This is the shirt that I'm wearing, and it's got little Captain Jalen Brunson on the back. And so, it's not showing y'all the Instagram. All right,
no. So I see the Instagram. I just don't see.
You don't see the actual.
Yeah.
All right. Shirt. So let me try that again real quick. Boom. Present. Stop screen. Present screen. Technology is crazy sometimes. Yeah. All right. So it's this right here. All right. It's got the Brooklyn Dreamer on the front, and then it's got this right here which is a really, really dope little superhero Brunson. But what got me into the brand in the first place is this hat that they sent over, which I'm really pumped to wear. It's this Jalen Brunson cap right here that says Brunson Burner on the side.
That's
So
nice.
so I love that cap. So shout out to the Brooklyn Dreamer. Please check them out on Instagram. Once again, Instagram Brooklyn Dreamer. The E is a 3. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. We got Toon in the building. Appreciate you. We got my guy Prezi in the building. Says salute to the dynamic duo. Phil All Caps and Apollo Reed, bringing that award-winning Knicks content on a Thursday. Toast to greatness. KOT Network is the ting. Yes, it is. It is. And then Toon said the only Phil we like as a Knicks fan. Facts. All
That's
right.
facts.
So we're gonna dive right into it, man. It's been kind of crazy over the last few weeks. After I went to the Dallas game that we talked about, I then flew out to Charlotte, and me and my brother caught the game there. Which we put a spanking on them. I connected with Apollo. Then we had 2 games since our last episode, which was the Boston game and then last night's game against the Charlotte Hornets. So let's break down what we saw in those 2 games. The loss to the Celtics really infuriated me. We lost 117 to 123. And it was one of those things you saw certain things that made you super excited, and then certain things that really, really drove you nuts. So, what was your thoughts on that game where we pretty much let Jaylen Brown look like king of the NBA?
I mean, clearly they had a chip in their shoulder from losing to us last year in the playoffs, and then uh, the way we beat them earlier in the season.
Certain things that
So I definitely was frustrated with our intensity of that game. It just seemed like we didn't match their energy. There were a lot of times, especially once we went up and we were up 14, and then slowly but surely that lead just went gone. Like, it was just gone. And then these guys just let Jaylen Brown do whatever he wanted. He called for that switch on Jalen Brunson every time. He was picking on Brunson. He was picking on Kolek, and no one could stop him. Nobody could do anything. It was really, really frustrating to watch. But it's one game. It's one game. I'm not holding them to that. I just feel like they just didn't stick to the plan. There's been a lot of weird stuff going on. I just feel as though there's a lot of energy problems going on with these guys, and which they have shown to work through, as you see how last year we ended up going to the Eastern Conference Final. So this is a regular season game, but it got a little spooky, that game.
Yeah. You know what's frustrating about that game to me is there's just certain games where you don't want to lose in the Eastern Conference, and Boston is always one of those, especially with Jason Tatum being gone, and they traded Drew Holiday and they no longer have Porzingis or Horford, so it's a depleted team compared to the championship team that they once were, and then still a depleted team from the team that we beat last year in the playoffs. And so the frustrating thing about that loss for me was first allowing Jaylen Brown to go for, I think, like 42 points or 41 points that night. But also the fact that they are that team that is still overperforming from what we thought they were going to do without Jason Tatum. And they're not far behind us, and so for a team like us that was supposed to be the clear win in the East, we're not declaring ourselves the rightful owners of that throne when we play teams like that. When we play teams like we did in Charlotte, yeah, there's dominance. But when we play actual teams that could be contenders at the end of the road, we don't perform that well. And so that was the frustrating part about that game, was because honestly, I love Jalen Brunson. I'm wearing Captain Superhero Jalen Brunson on my back right now. But 2 things can be true: that I love Jalen Brunson, but he also cost us that game. Like, he is the reason we lost that game. Mikal Bridges was on fire in the second half, and Karl Anthony Towns was shooting well throughout that whole game. And yet in that last minute and a half, Mikal didn't get a shot. Towns didn't get a shot. Brunson had multiple forced shots. They weren't even good-looking baskets, and yet he forced those shots. So to me, he cost us the game. Like, he absolutely cost us the game. So what are your thoughts on that last minute from Jalen Brunson? He wasn't shooting well all game. People are like, yeah, but he's Captain Clutch. He's Captain Clutch. I understand. But reading the room is still important in the NBA. And he wasn't shooting well all night. And even before that minute and a half, he was testing it and he wasn't able to catch fire at all. So what are your thoughts on him costing us that game? Do you think he did? Am I wrong? What do you think?
I mean, I think Jalen Brunson did I think the plan is at the end of games, if they're not necessarily in a winning position, is to get buckets through Jalen Brunson. I don't think that it worked out in that game. Like they defended him pretty well. I cannot blame them losing on him. I can't do that because personally, a whole lot went wrong that game. A whole lot went wrong. These guys are complaining about the refs and all kinds of stuff. And I always say, once you start complaining about the refs, then you are doing something wrong because the refs should not have control of the game if you're doing what you're supposed to do, point blank. So they lost that lead early in that game and they never really got it back. So I think McCall should have gotten more shots. He did force a couple shots up towards the end, which he made a couple threes at the end. I think he was like two back-to-back threes in one at some point towards the end of that game. And he tried to hit that last one and it didn't really work. But I think like I said, I can't blame it on Jalen Brunson, but he didn't help in that situation. I think he could have just looked for other guys. He did have 11 assists that game, but it's everyone could have done better, especially our captain.
All right. So I respect that, but I will go against that.
That's fine. I don't mind. Go ahead.
No. And the reason I say that is because shout out Nostalgic Nick. Appreciate you, my guy. If you guys can hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'd love to pack this room out for our guests and hang out with everybody. But here's my reason for blaming Jalen Brunson on that. Because I understand that he's supposed to be that guy for us. But sometimes when you're the captain of the game, it has to be chess and not checkers. Checkers is because you can jump somebody, you do it. Checkers is you have to read the room and make sure it's the right move. And I don't think that Captain Clutch taking those shots in the fourth was the right move. You check and see if you can get it, but when you realize that you can't, you have to kind of move on. And the reason I say that is if you look at the second half, that was Mikal Bridges' game. He shot 76.9% in the second half, putting up 30 points. 30 points in the second half by Mikal Bridges. And then Karl Anthony Towns had 15 points in 66.7% shooting. Mikal was shooting 70% from three, 7 for 10 from the three-point line in that second half. And then you look at Jalen Brunson's numbers. Jalen Brunson was shooting 25% and had 6 points the entire half. That is a drastic difference. Like a drastic difference. 30 points, 60 points. 20% versus, what did I say, 70-something percent? Like with Mikal, like those numbers are drastically different, almost 80% to 25%. So that's why I feel like Mikal should have been given the rock. Use your guard as a decoy. Like Jalen Brunson is still going to grab defenders because he's known as Captain Clutch. But that's in those moments where you realize that sometimes being the leader is not taking the fourth shot. Like you look at Michael Jordan. How many times did he pass it to Steve Kerr or Paxson and get them the win? Why? Because he looked at the whole game, regardless of whether he was the greatest scorer at the time. So that's my reasons that I had a frustration with Jalen Brunson at the end of that game. But if you're in the chat, let me know your thoughts. Do you guys think Jalen Brunson was to blame? Half and half. And everyone's kind of had different thoughts on how they feel and who cost us the game. But I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the chat. Prezi, let me know. Nostalgic, let me know. Toon, let me know. What do you guys think of how that game finished? Because I don't want to see it end like that in the playoffs. But then we move to the Hornets. We win 119 to 104. And I'm thankful we got the win and that we continue to defend home court. But these are the games that we should be destroying teams by bigger margins at the end of the day. Like, it's the Charlotte Hornets. They're absolutely horrible. And they just lost to the Nets. And they didn't have Brandon Miller, which is one of their best scorers alongside LaMelo Ball. Um, Prezi said it's Cat fault just because. We know how this is going today with Prezi. But what was your thoughts on that Charlotte Hornet game?
It was a game we should have won. That's just how I look at it. It's a game we should have won. Bullies usually pick on the easiest kids to bully. That's usually how it goes. They did their thing though. I'm happy they won. It's just I don't get excited when these guys beat teams like the Charlotte Hornets. It's what they're supposed to do. I would like to see them. I would like to see Cat have 35 and 18 against and 5 assists and 2 steals against plenty of other guys in the league. When you see him play against the Milwaukee Bucks and he's 2 for 9 with 9 points. That's where I don't understand what's going on here. You know what I mean? It's kind of like what is the deal with you only playing strongly against weak opponents? It's just really frustrating. But it's also how they're coached. These teams are coached differently, of course. There's a lot of things that you can get away with playing the Hornets that you can't get away with playing the Celtics, because they're just coached to play better through all of that stuff. But personally, there's some good things to see in there. They played some good defense. I liked what I saw from Kolek. Kolek looked really good against the Hornets. But it's a game we should win. It's a game we should have won.
Yeah. And so let's go from the top down to what you were saying. First, Prezi said, nah, just really answering your question. It was definitely JB's fault in the Boston game. When you're off for the night, you need to turn off the scoring and focus on getting the rest of the team involved. And that's what I agree. Like captains, when you see an iceberg, you're the captain. Like steer away from it. Like you're still behind the wheel, you're still in control of everything that's happening, but you don't continue to go in a direction that is going to cause issues in the end. So that's my thought on that, is like you can be clutch without having to put the ball in the basket. Like you can be Captain Clutch by making the best read and making the best decision, which some of the best point guards in the world you see did that, like Stockton and Nash and CP3 and Rondo, like using your basketball IQ, which Jalen Brunson has a ton of, and using it to the betterment of our team. But to the Hornet game, that leads me to the first thing that you and I talked about is Cat. He's the standout performer, 37 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 7% field, and 70% 3-point field goals. Like that to me is crazy to see those kind of numbers from Cat, because that's what we need. That's the Cat that Leon Rose and all them fought to get this summer. That's the guy that we decided we needed, that we wanted to build around. And so, like you said, though, it happens on teams where it should happen against. Like, why are we not seeing that in that Boston game? Like, yeah, he had a good shooting night, but in the first half, there was no dominance, like against the Bucks. Like, I'm sorry, Miles Turner's big, but he's soft. Like you can go through that dude, like why not? Why not put bodies on like the guys that are your same size or a little bit bigger? Make them get into foul trouble, assert your dominance. We know that he can do it, but he doesn't a lot of times. And that's where it can get frustrating. But to your point, we've seen the growth of Tyler Kolek over these last few games. And that has had me really, really excited to see Tyler Kolek. And we're going to talk more about Cat a little bit later, because the questions that we're having, a lot of the fan base is having, and there's a lot of talks about what the future of this Knicks team could or cannot be based off of Karl Anthony Towns in the lineup. But this guy right here, I've been saying it all season. I'll continue to say it. I'm Kolek-ive, and I'm proud to be Kolek-ive, because he has been getting better and better every single game. And if you look at it, this to me is pretty much his freshman year. He didn't play much under Tibbs. So you're seeing a lot of growth right before your eyes, and not just offensively, but the biggest surprise has been his defensive growth. Like, his defensive growth has been really, really impressive. And yes, there's some blown coverages here and there, but a lot of times it's gotten strong stops, especially over these last 2 games. The way that he maneuvers around a pick and fights through a pick at his size is super impressive. And he went 2 for 3 last night beyond the arc in 13 minutes of play. So he's been really, really impressive for us on the Knicks. So what are your thoughts on the growth of Tyler Kolek?
I mean, he's getting the opportunity that he's always deserved, in my opinion. He's always been a high IQ guard straight out of college, 4 years. You know what I mean? Like, why not trust him? I'm glad, unfortunately, certain guys, like, beginning of the season, we talked about Malcolm Brogdon retiring. And, fortunately for Kolek, that opened up a whole lot of playing time for him. They didn't necessarily fill that gap. So what they did was they just, decided to play him. Something pretty damn simple, right?
Yeah.
But I'm impressed because he's starting to be more aggressive. I think last night he finally started hitting some. Well, not, I wouldn't say last night, but especially last night, he started to hit his threes, which is something that we've been wanting him to do. Guys have been trying to leave him open, but if he's starting to hit threes and knock down his threes while still being aggressive, passing the ball, getting guys open, that's what you really want to see. But like you said, the most impressive part has been the defense, because he was a cone at a certain point, but he's putting in so much work on that side of the floor that you can't help but give him credit for that. But it's something that can only happen for guys if they get the opportunity. It takes time. Just like right now, he had a great game, but he only had 6 points. But it takes time to get there. And when you spend the whole season on the bench, you waste all of that away. So I'm proud of him. He's earned the minutes. You saw a point last night. He yelled at Hukporti for not dunking the ball, which he should have. I'm not gonna lie. Hukporti should have went up with that. So he's starting to round out into someone that understands he will get opportunities, and he's taking advantage of those opportunities for sure.
Yeah. So before I give my thoughts on that, I'm gonna put it right here. We got Nostalgic Nick saying JB can't do anything if he's not scoring. All right, that's I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it does show that in that game he does not result like as a first decision to put himself second and others first. I will say that.
Like I say, he did have 11 rebounds. I mean, 11 assists that game. So I
Yeah.
mean, you can't say that. He at the end of the game, he should have done better for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not taking that away from him,
Yeah.
but he still had 11 assists that game.
And someone's got a good point down here. Right down here, where is it at? Prezi said JB is a scoring guard, but his issue is he's used to carrying the team that he doesn't know how to trust his teammates. And I can see that. Like, I think like when the game's not on the line, the assists are starting to come more, but the actual full-on trust in his teammates, I do not know if it's there yet. And for some of those guys, I understand. There's certain people that whatever. But Mikhail, his right-hand man, his brother, like all that stuff. I think that like that's someone you would want to trust in down the line when he's playing that well. And then right here we got Kolek won't quit. And I agree. Kolek has been super, super impressive to me, and he keeps on going. And right here, this team is talented past the rock, So what'd you say?
No, I'm just laughing at the chat, bro.
Oh, so you kind of gave a little spoiler alert, but that actual moment is my run that back moment. All right. So we're going to share the screen real quick, and I'm going to show that moment that you were talking about. All right. You guys see that on the screen right there? No, let me get this off. Boom. All right. So this is Tyler Kolek asserting some of his leadership capabilities.
Lead of the night, a 22-point advantage. Put it on a nice pass. Porty had a dunk and he throws it out.
So just like the announcer screams from the top of their lungs, Huck Porty had the dunk and he gave it up and he passed it out. And Tyler Kolek let him have it. And I know a lot of people are like, yo, he's yelling, da 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 da. Like, yes, he's yelling, but straight up with all the trade talks that are going on and the fact that Huck Porty has not gotten a lot of minutes this year, like, you should take that as Tyler Kolek is trying to save your freaking job because you keep on doing stuff like that and you're not going to have a job. So instead of getting pissed off like Huck Porty did and exchanging words on the sideline with Tyler, like maybe you should heed the warnings and heed what your guy is telling you because this kid sees the game and he's growing night in and night out. You're not getting many opportunities. And when you do, you're doing something like that, which was insane. The easiest dunk that Huck Porty could have gotten in his NBA career. And he threw it back out to the 3-point line and caused issues for us. So Huck needs to realize that listening to Kolek is a good thing because correction and accountability won't always be soft spoken. But that does not mean that there's not wisdom in it. Like straight up, that was wisdom from Tyler Kolek. So I love seeing him assert himself like that. From a kid that barely got minutes last year to a kid that's now confident enough to call that stuff out. I love seeing that. Like that to me is awesome growth to watch. So shout out to my son. Y'all saw him on the show last week. Quick little story. This little bracelet right here. So my son is in school. We homeschool him. And he got like his arts and crafts pack for everything he has to do for the year. And he got it. And I hear him whisper to my wife when he opens it up. He's like, Mom, I've never made Dad a bracelet. Like, I got to make him a Knicks bracelet. Like, it has to be blue and orange. And so, like, he opened the craft set immediately after getting it, created this for me and brought it. And he's like, are you going to wear it? And I'm like, bro, I'm going to wear it to every game and every show. So shout out to Jonah for creating this for me. Love that kid. Love watching his Knicks fandom grow. Kid is just such a blessing. And next week, if he watches the show, my now 5-year-old Miles has asked if he can come on the show for a segment. So he will be coming up for a little bit. Yep, that's definitely coming. So Miles is definitely going to be coming up soon. And I do want to say this, it's in the works right now. But sometime maybe after the Christmas break and my son's birthday, we will be coming out with a morning show. I will be doing once a week in the early morning, Orange and Brewed Skies. And my boys have actually asked if they can have a small segment called the Brew Brothers on that show where they talk Knicks in their room on their microphone. So they're going to have like a little 5 to 10 minute segment on Orange and Brewed Skies. So stay tuned for that. I'm looking forward to that. Those boys are incredible. But let's keep on going. All right, so looking at it's about 8:30. We got probably another 10 minutes before we bring Todd and David up. Shout out to you guys for the love for my sons. Congrats. All right, and then I love watching y'all go back and forth in the chat. That's always so fun to me. It's like watching a Twitter feed on the side of my screen as I talk. But let's talk about the next guy up. All right, so I want to talk real quick about Deuce McBride. Because Deuce has been impressive, bro. Like I've really been happy with what I'm seeing from Deuce. Like I'm really, really excited to see what I'm seeing from Deuce. And so I'm gonna give a shout out to my guy Dylan real quick. Because he posted he posted this today. And it's it's a good little stat to see. So shout out to Dylan. And let's pull up that screen right there. And if you look, Deuce McBride is 20 for his last 32 3-pointers. And he said he is legitimately becoming a weapon in the backcourt. And it's true. Like, this guy is right before our eyes becoming a lethal 3-point shooter. Like, he is absolutely killing it. And I was in Dallas, then I was in Charlotte. And I love, love, love. One of the greatest feelings as a Knicks fan is going into an arena that is not yours and hearing Deuce booze, as loud as possible from the stands, because it just shows the growth that this kid has had. So what are your thoughts on Miles McBride?
I mean, he's been, first of all, I was talking to one of my guys from back home, and he was like, I can't stand his shot, his weird shot from all the way up top of his head. I'm like, bro, it goes in. It goes in. He definitely was someone that I was worried. I was worried about his shot when we drafted him, for sure. I was like, I don't know about this guy's shot here. It was kind of, spooky. But once Tip started getting him minutes and letting him play and letting him make mistakes, mostly, he started to come around with a shot. And ever since then, he's really been reliable from behind the arc. He's just, especially in certain lineups, he takes on that leadership role in a way. And you're starting to see him get more confidence with that. He's waving some guys off, step back threes, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what you want. You want someone to not be scared to take a shot, and not be scared to wave off of Jalen Brunson because, just because he's the captain, you know what I mean? But Deuce has really been showing out, man. And I'm really proud of the improvement he's been showing us. But, from three, I didn't expect this. I didn't expect him to shoot this well. So I'm overly excited.
Yeah. What's crazy is like, he has grown in so many ways. Watching him and IQ play in Toronto last week was really cool to see, because like what we saw in the growth of IQ, that we were like, dang, a player that can play D, but can also unload the clip from three at a high volume and has a great shot. Like, we're losing that in IQ. And seeing Miles McBride take those steps to be that replacement is great to watch. Like, absolutely great. Me and my brother were watching a game together, and it was crazy because we kept watching his shot, because each one was straight nothing but net, like straight water. Like, there was no rim touching, no nothing. Like, it was just pure basketball, like intelligence from three. And so I loved watching that. He said, yes, Phil, you nailed it. Miles still isn't IQ, though. Agree. I agree in a sense, because IQ
Certain things,
had
IQ, yeah. Go ahead.
IQ had some starting opportunities that, Miles McBride hasn't really had until now. And also IQ was more of a facilitator. Like, straight up, IQ ran the offense, and he still is running the offense. And there's difference, IQ is still IQ. Love IQ. And I love that when he came to the Garden, there was so much love for him from the crowd and from the other players, and they all kind of reconnected and had those moments. So no, not taking anything from IQ, but to see the growth from Miles McBride, it is a beautiful thing to watch. And I know some people are saying, he's going to be involved in any single trade talk, da-da-da-da-da. There's so much that goes into it, and we're going to talk about some of those trades later that I've pulled up. I'm not a money guy. Like, I'm not a this over the apron, over that apron, this, that, whatever. And like, I know my wife wears an apron sometimes when she's baking. That's the apron I can tell you about, but all that stuff's not my jam. But other people are, and we're going to talk about those. And a lot of them, surprisingly, would not include Miles McBride, which is good to see. So I don't know. We'll find out if that's how it's going to be. But I don't think it will be. And so I just love seeing the growth in him. And so we're going to go into one other quick player. And then after that, we're going to bring up one of our guests is for sure ready. My guy, David Thomas. And if y'all don't know who David Thomas is, like, okay, I forgive you because it's mostly an NBA show, but this dude is one of the best writers in the game when it comes to whiskey content and whiskey reviews. And honestly, following him pisses me off sometimes because I get to see him like travel everywhere, get flown out to this place and that place just to taste this whiskey or that whiskey. And I'm like, what the frick? What do I have to do? Sign me up for that job. But he's also got a lot more followers than my social media does. So it makes sense. And he's also probably way smarter than I am when it comes to whiskey content. But you guys saw when Matt Cusick was on the show, he shouted out two guys as the elite writers for Whiskey Game. He said it was David Thomas and Frank. And Frank was on the show. And so now David Thomas will be on. And what makes David Thomas even better is that he is a real Knicks fan. Loves the Knicks. And same with Todd, who will be coming up a little bit later. I'm waiting for the thumbs up from Todd to know that he's good. But real quick, I want to talk about this guy right here. And I know some people have an affinity for him, some people don't, which I don't friggin' understand. But let's talk right now about Mikal Bridges and what we think of Mikal Bridges. Because to me, Mikal Bridges is putting on for the Knicks right now. Like straight up putting on for the Knicks right now. And if Todd's available, I will bring him up because I know he's been watching the games and I want to know what he thinks about it. So Todd, if you're there, turn on your camera in the back so I can see you. And let's talk real quick about Mikal freaking Bridges. So without further ado, guys, this guy right here is someone that I really appreciate. He runs an awesome brand by the name of Baxis. Some might not know what that is. And at first I had a bit of a confusion on it. I knew it was a site where you can list bottles and have, bottles that you sell and people can give a price and you can negotiate this, that, and whatever. And I knew you could find rare bottles. But I didn't really know that they had some really stinking awesome single barrel picks, which are their own. And those are going to be the ones that we are trying tonight. But when I found out that Todd from Baxis was also a diehard New York Knicks fan, I was like, all right, we need to set this up. And so me and Todd went back and forth forever trying to figure out how to make this happen, how to get an episode where he could be on it. And so I'm excited to have him up, talk Knicks. He actually tried to give us a shout out today. Like he tagged Ben Stiller and was like, yo, are you going to drink with us tonight? Ben ignored us. Ben, if you're watching this, which is crazy because sometimes I'll tweet something and Ben will leave a comment and he'll repost. And I'm like, yeah. And then on a comment like that where I'm like, yeah, you're going to come up. He ignored it. So anyway, without further ado, this is my guy, Todd. Oh, and his camera is gone. That is perfect timing. Bring somebody up and their camera just dies.
There he is.
There. Whoa. Hey. In the what?
Oh, go. Oh.
Something's happening. Something's happening. All right. And I will let you guys know that tonight is what we do on this episode. It is a flight night, which means that we will be going through a sample of 4. Sometimes with brands, we'll do 2 and we go through every single tasting note. Not doing that. This right here is a flight night where we will be going through, giving little things that we like about each pour. And then at the end of the night, each one of us will say which one we enjoyed most. And so I'm looking forward to this episode, Flight Night with Baxis and their single barrel picks. So let's try this again. Without further ado, I'm bringing up my guy, Todd from Baxis. See if the camera works.
All right, we're good to
Hey, there you go.
All right, guys.
Froze.
I think we lost
a little bit of traffic leaving the city.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
He's
you
back.
Broke up for a second. Where are you driving to?
I'm driving back home to Jersey. It's a little bit of traffic in the city, so apologies that I'm not yet planted. But once I get home, I'll be able to pop open some drinks with you guys.
Awesome.
Nice.
I did actually just want to comment on one thing, which was the Huck Porty, the Kolick and the Huck Porty play. I actually think if you rewatch it, that Huck Porty made the exact right decision by dishing it out to Deuce. You had Deuce McBride wide open on the corner 3. Deuce has been knocked down for the most part from the corner 3 with real wide open. And Huck Porty, if you look at his final positioning, because he had someone who was jumping on him to defend, he was under the basket. He wouldn't have been able to pull up a dunk in the way that Kolick was saying. And he's got a 25% free throw shooting percentage this season. So if he went up and he missed and he got fouled, the odds that he was actually going to bring in points were actually pretty low. So with that aside, I actually felt that being under the basket, not necessarily knowing if the guy behind him was going to be ready to block him again, kicking it open to a wide open Deuce McBride was actually not the worst call.
All right. I think that's the first take I've heard from somebody that sees it that way. But the free throw percentage is important, for sure. The only thing is when Huck Porty's down there, you knowing and understanding who's around you is so important. There was only one defender anywhere close to the paint, and that person was jumping in the air past him. So even if he had to turn and dunk it was an easy 2 points. So it's kind of knowing your surroundings, and I don't think that Hook Porty did that. And that for me is where you go, okay, which one of those two has shown the most basketball IQ, Tyler Kolek or Huck Porty? Obviously, Tyler Kolek. Like, that dude has goggles like unbelief, like that friggin' thing that he threw up out of nowhere to Karl Anthony Towns for an alley-oop out of nowhere. So Huck Porty needs to trust his teammate and go, okay, he obviously sees something that I don't because I'm positioned poor or I'm not paying attention, or I don't think I deserve the rock, but utilizing your, partner teammates' skill sets and going, okay, this guy sees the game. He's got to see something, And so I always, in my opinion, I think this NBA, even if it's not Huck Porty's reasoning, this NBA relies too much on kicking back out a three than attempting an easy 2 points. And how many times has an easy 2 points that we didn't go for cost us the game in the end? Way too many to not have PTSD at moments like that. Luckily for us, we were playing the Hornets. But if it was a team that actually mattered, that 2 points could have been an issue.
So
I don't disagree on that.
Yeah.
So Todd, I want to talk to you, first, Baxis. How did you guys get started? What was the vision behind it? And then also, while you're at it, give us a little quick breakdown, few sentences on your New York Knicks fandom, how that got started as well.
Yeah, so I guess Baxis I was a whiskey fan, collector, enthusiast, drinker, kind of all the above. Of course, anyone who's in whiskey and knows about these bottles that might not be actually anything that crazy. Prices might be somewhat reasonable, but they become real because people clear the shelves on them. And I looked at things like, StockX that existed for sneakers and for and other streetwear and all these brands and GOAT and all these places. And I'm like, that doesn't exist for the whiskey world. You've got people that have to use these secret groups, and you have to worry about whether the bottle is authentic or not. You have to worry about whether or not the guy's actually going to ship. There's legal complications. And so the real idea was, well, how much could we help people find, how can we help people find bottles or find out what their bottles are actually worth if you give them a much cleaner marketplace, a place where they send it in, we handle the authentication, and then people get to list them at whatever price they want. So people can then actually list them for sale, buy rare bottles, sell rare bottles, or even just regular at home. So that's really it. It's about pairing people with whiskeys that.
Ooh, he's stuck in the Matrix.
He'll be back. He's in the Matrix for a second.
Oh, all right, there you are.
There he is. He's back.
You back?
Nope.
Yo.
He's in Jersey, so I wouldn't be surprised. Service sucks over there.
The New Jersey Nets sound waves are stopping him from talking about the Knicks. Oh man. Let's see. He might be back. Let's see. Without further ado, Ty.
This app does not like me. This is the fourth time it's kicked me out. So
it's because you're in Jersey. They only want you
that's
talking about the Nets.
That's it. Hey, that's a New York problem now also. But anyways, I don't know where I got cut off, but it was basically about helping people who, love whiskey or have stuff that they don't love or that they have too much of, or, find the right buyers and help buyers find the bottles that they're looking for. And more importantly, just again, connecting and making things more accessible to people, because we know that across the board, you've got things that are limited edition or released only in one state or one area or one region. And there's a lot of other buyers out there who want them, who don't want to get ripped off and who want to make sure that they're paying a fair market price and that the bottles that they're buying are real. And so that really became, what it's about. And then to the single barrels that we'll get into a little bit later, that's just something nice that we like to do. We love to support distilleries. We love distilleries that want to support us and our users and our members. And, we have an app that people use to just keep track of their collection at home, helps them figure out retail pricing to make sure that, again, they're not overpaying when they go to their local liquor store. And that's really the important part, is again, connecting people, good prices, good whiskey, and ultimately from there, good friendships, people that you end up bonding with over, a love of the Knicks and a love of bourbon and some other whiskeys and stuff. And that's a lot of fun. And so the single barrels are more of something that we offer, as just an added benefit to the Baxis community, something that we tasted and we really liked, and we want them to have a chance.
Yeah, no, I love that. Before I go into your fandom, one thing I love is as someone in the whiskey community, like I always tell people when we try something that's a little more rare on the show, that there are places you want to go. Like one thing that bothers me is secondary from stores. Because the markups, that some of the people that are running these stores are super sketch, and like, especially in New York, you can go into like a New York liquor store and find like Weller Special Reserve and be paying Blanton's prices, and you're just like, wait a minute, like what's going on here, and it's not even like Blanton's, it's like Blanton's Gold, and you're like, yo, what the heck? And so I always tell people that I have an issue with that, and what makes Baxis different is just like the sneaker game, like you guys aren't the ones that are like, we're controlling everything, like we're buying up all these bottles so that none of you guys can, like those people that track down their local stores weekly deliveries, and they get there and buy 6-7 bottles of every single freaking one so that you never get anything, and then they make a killing off of it that afternoon on Facebook. You guys are the facilitators of people saying, this is what I have, this is what I think is valued at, and this is what I'm gonna try to sell it for. And the viewer has the option to say yes, no, maybe we could barter, maybe we could figure something out, and it makes it to where you can make offers and stuff like that, which we all can understand as sneakerheads. So I love that like crossover that you guys used for the site, because I think it's a genius way to go about it. And so when it comes to your fandom, I'm going to talk about that. But while we do it, I want David to hear part of this story, to hear about your fandom, because then we're going to go straight into his. So I'm going to bring up David Thomas. Like I said, this guy has tasted whiskey that I watch his reels, and when he's doing it, I have the vision of me drinking it, because I know that I'm never going to be able to drink some of the stuff that he posts. So I just envision myself in his body enjoying that whiskey. And I know that's weird, but if you guys are whiskey heads and you follow his account, you're not going to think it's weird, because you're going to say, Phil, I do that too. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up my guy, David Thomas. And then after we hear Todd's Knicks backstory, we're going to hear his. So here we go.
Woo! Great to be here, guys.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Phil, hello. Todd's been over to my place. Anything you want to try, give me a heads up. Come on through. We'll open some bottles. We'll have a good way to do it.
I would love that. We're gonna have to go up and make some, like, I'll be there in December and make some actual like content, Knicks / whiskey content together, all three of us, and then try to get Apollo up there. So, but Todd, how did you become a Knicks fan? Like,
I think Todd's frozen.
Day one.
Yeah.
I thought he was just smiling really big because he enjoyed that Thomas was here with us. But I thought he was as excited as I was. Like, yay, I'm going to hang out with Phil and, David. Woo! But just not. No excitement there. All right. So as we wait for him, David Thomas, give people a little like intro on like what you do and also your Knicks fandom.
I appreciate it. Phil, Apollo, thanks for having me. I'm so pumped to be here. Couldn't be more excited to talk a little Knicks and a lot of whiskey. Phil,
yes,
we met through the whiskey community, the best community. Apollo, we've met through the extended whiskey community.
Yes,
you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying right now.
Right.
My name is David Thomas Tao. I am an entertainment producer, and by that, mostly theater, honestly. So the real nerdy stuff, that's what I do for my day job. I've previously been an entrepreneur in the fitness industry. I've also been like a tech, finance, business writer before, but most relevantly, something I've been doing for a while and I love and hope to never stop doing is I'm a spirits writer. So I get to taste stuff. I get to review spirits, mostly whiskey, some other stuff as well. I get to write about it. And I also write features on all sorts of different stuff. So, in depth on like this weird whiskey story, human interest, all that sort of stuff. Most of what I do is reviews, but I like the human interest element too. I think I have the best job in the world because I get to meet the best people. And fun fact, Phil and Todd met you both first at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. And my first ever job, so I'm from Bardstown, Kentucky. My first ever job was sanitation at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, emptying those trash barrels, those blue trash barrels.
That's awesome.
Like over 20 years ago, way back when. So shout out to the Kentucky Bourbon Festival because it's where you meet the best people. Apollo, we got to get you down there for that. We got to get you down there for KBF.
This summer. All right. So before we go into your fandom, I think this is an awesome idea. So we've been talking to a lot of brands throughout the season about doing like watch parties and stuff like that during the playoffs. And so Prezi just said, you're the whiskey god bringing all of these great enthusiasts together. We need a Knicks Nightcap live event in 2026, swishin' and sippin' and get my sample on. So that is something that we should definitely do in the city. Put on a Knicks Nightcap event, cocktails, whiskey samples, and just a bunch of people from the community that are Knicks fans enjoying some good whiskey together. So I'm going to pull that off. Todd, you're gone again. I don't even know.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh,
I
just got home.
I just got home. I'm trying to get down so I don't lose service again. I'm here.
Oh, okay. All right. So Todd, we're going to have to put that on. We're going to have to put that on together. A Baxis Knicks Nightcap collaboration, whiskey, sipping and swishing and sipping night. And let's get that done after the new year.
I love it. Count me in.
All right, cool. So if you want, I'll let you drop off on your camera so you can get settled in at home. We'll finish David's fandom story and then bring you back up for your fandom story and to talk about Mikal Bridges.
Well, keep me on just because I want to listen. I just want to keep. I want to hear David's story.
Yeah, perfect. I love that. All right, so David, let's take it away.
I grew up in Central Kentucky, Bardstown. If you're a whiskey fan, you've probably heard of Bardstown. If you're not, you're a soon-to-be whiskey fan. You will hear about Bardstown, where they make a lot of bourbon and great American whiskey. But not a lot of basketball in Bardstown, Kentucky. Now, there's some college basketball in Kentucky, some pretty good college basketball. I'm a longtime U of L fan, but not into the UK, not into blue and white. But anyway, growing up in Central Kentucky, we don't have any professional sports teams. And the cool thing about that is you get to kind of pick and choose. So when you're a kid, whatever you're attracted to, you get to pick. I grew up in the 90s kid. All my classmates love the Chicago Bulls. I didn't want to go along with just what everyone else liked. But I absolutely loved the branding and color scheme for the Knicks. I was like, oh my God, blue and orange, and they're in New York City, and I've been watching way too much Seinfeld. I was way too young. Aspirational, because I'd never been to a big city before. The biggest city I'd ever been to is Louisville, Kentucky, which is not that big, y'all. Like, I've never been on a subway. I'd never, none of this. Like, real pizza? What is that? I don't know. So for me, I always wanted to live in New York, and I live in New York now, and I'm very blessed to do so, but it was aspirational. I was like, wait, I can buck the trend. I can do something different than all my classmates, right? I could cheer for the underdog, which is weird because New York City is never the underdog. You never bet against New York City, period.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that's how it started. I was a kid, had no particular allegiance, like a blank slate, no professional sports teams, and so I went with the Knicks. And then here we are. And then in college, before I went to college in Boston, all my roommates were all Knicks fans. Dear God, the Celtics-Knicks playoff series when I was in college was so rough.
Is that Carmelo Anthony?
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yep. Yeah. And never have I felt more physically in danger than being at the Garden in Boston after the Knicks lost. And it was clear that me and my guys were Knicks fans in just a sea of green.
Scary.
And I was like, I don't know if we're going to make it out of here. I don't know if we're going to make it out of here in one piece. But the other little thing I'll say is in college, we on every playlist, you know the Wiz Khalifa song "Black and Yellow" about the Steelers, Pirates, Pittsburgh. Great. Shout out to Pitt. I like Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh as a city. Don't necessarily love their sports teams. Someone, I forget who it was, did a remix called "Stat and Mellow."
Huh.
Wow.
And it, if you're of a certain era, 2010, 2011 Knicks, I find that still makes it on my recommended playlists on Spotify and just takes me back to 15 years ago. So in a case, if you're ever looking for anything on a Knicks playlist, Stat and Mellow, the remix to Black and Yellow. I was just thinking about that literally earlier today. I was like, I got to bring that up.
All right, hold on.
I'm looking it up.
I never heard that, so I might get copyright infringement. I'm all right with that.
You know what it is. Staying mellow, staying mellow, staying mellow, staying mellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Staying mellow, staying mellow, staying mellow, staying mellow. Yeah, you know what it is. He wasn't going nowhere but the Knicks. He contract, he wasn't budging. Now he got the whole.
All right, that's a little sample for everybody before YouTube finds me or something like that.
Yeah.
So-
It gets a little repetitive. I got to be honest. The song gets a little repetitive. It could have used some higher production value.
Yeah,
You know,
it
yeah,
sounds
like
like it was recorded on my son's like Casio keyboard, but you know, it is what it is.
it probably was, but you know, that's just a core. That's just a core Knicks memory. And I was like, my college roommates, who may or may not be watching this, are going to be real mad if I don't bring that up. So there we go.
That's hilarious.
2D done.
Well, I love that. And now Todd is back, looking so fresh and so clean. No internet problems.
I wouldn't say no internet problems. Let's you know, I don't want to give Spectrum too much credit, but at this moment, you know, I am connected.
Spectrum.
Awesome. All right, so we just heard, you know, David's growing up in Louisville, only college basketball in Bardstown. And yes, if you don't know what Bardstown is, just Google it. If you're watching this show, we've done episodes with Bardstown Bourbon Company, and a lot of amazing whiskey comes out of that area. So shout out to those guys. But Todd, where did your fandom for the Knicks come?
Yeah, so I would say that I guess the best way to put it is like flip-flopped in the sense of I grew up in Jersey. And so when I was really young, I was a Knicks fan. Like, you know, Latrell Sprewell, like that era, like that was just like incredible. Like for me, like I was a Knicks fan. But then when I got slightly older, you know, I was going to be a fan of anyone I could go to a game of, right? And so like my dad would drive us and we were able to get tickets every once in a while to go to like the Continental Arena, like, you know, by the Meadowlands, and we would go watch the Nets. So that was Jason Kidd, Keith Van Horn, like it was just that was like also a really good era for the Nets in general. And so we were able to go there. And so it's like, okay, I'm from Jersey. This is our only team, because even the Giants and the Jets, who play right next door to the Nets, call themselves the New York Giants and Jets. So we're like, all right, we're going to, you know, have a little bit of Jersey hometown pride. And then the Nets moved right when I was getting around to high school. They moved actually to the Prudential Center, like way further down in Jersey prior to them moving to Brooklyn. And so when that happened already, you know, I was able, like I was, you know, around high school age, I could just hop on a bus to Port Authority and walk to MSG. And so that's really, really what brought me back and solidified my Knicks fandom, was the fact that like I wanted to go watch games. And so I was able to just hop on a bus, go watch them in person. Like, you know, that was really what my fandom came from, of like, I didn't want to have to go watch one team while rooting for another one. And I couldn't get to the Nets because I didn't drive yet. And I think that that's something that is really cool about both like the Knicks and the Nets now, is like being in, you know, Brooklyn and Manhattan respectively, is that you do have this, like, if you can get on a subway, you can get to a game. And I think that that's super cool about, like, you know, I have friends who live in, I mean, most other cities, like it's almost impossible to get there with public transportation. You have to be able to drive. So I do, I do really love that. And it's something that I definitely appreciate. And I think I didn't appreciate as much as a kid, but like I said, again, that was my high school time, that was the Melo, like the Amari, like that was their era. So definitely also like a good time to be a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
You know, oh my God, I'm trying to remember. There were a bunch of them that I was just like huge fan. Like, what was it? Like Tyson Chandler. Anyways, like it was a whole bunch of them. It was like really Tyson Chandler, then Gallinari at one point, who just officially retired. Like really, they were it was a fun team. You had the Jeremy Lin era. It was a really fun team. So it was also just a great time. And then afterwards, you know, moved around, whatever it was, but it was always like, I'm like, all right, now at this point, like, I know that when I come back, like I was a Knicks fan through and through. I think once, like 2000, whenever the Nets moved, I guess it was like 04 or 05 or something was when they moved out. Like that really was like, all right, I can hop on a bus and you know, go to the Garden. So
yeah,
you know, I'm going to admit I did have a brief period of being a Nets fan, but like I said, that was more Jersey pride.
Yeah,
we all go through phases, unfortunate phases.
Here's the thing. I always have a rule that, like, when you're a kid, you have an excuse. You know, like when you start understanding what like loyalty in sports is really like, then there's an issue. You know, like my sons, you know, they're loving the Knicks, you know, but when you see somebody win, it's appealing, you know? So like, you know, they're like, well, if the Knicks get eliminated, then my second team will be OKC. And I'm like, all right, front runners, but I understand it, you know? And so I look back to when I was a kid, and as a Knick fan, I was a diehard Knick fan, but I also could not deny the fact that Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player I ever saw. You know, like anyone growing up in that era, you know, like if you're an OG at that time, you know, like you're older, like you had a disdain for Michael Jordan because of what he did to you, you know, like, but as a young kid, you're like, I hate that he beats us, but I'm still going to watch and cheer him on because he's incredible. You know,
Right.
I even have a song that I recorded called 98, and it's all about like being as dominant as the 98 Bulls, you know, like approaching everything in life with that kind of dominance because they were incredible, you know. And so you have a pass up until that point, you know. Like if you were ever like, well, you know, I was rooting for them when they had Durant and Kyrie and James Harden, then I'd be like, oh man, internet issues again. Sorry, Todd, you know, like, and you'd be gone. But you didn't say that, so you're still here. So it worked itself out.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, definitely,
love
definitely
that.
not then.
I love that. All right. So before we go into some talks, we've been going through, you know, some of the players. We talked about Kolick. We talked about Miles McBride, and we're going to go into Mikal Bridges next. But first, I want to start our first sip. All right. And this right here that we're going to start with first is the Wilderness Trail sample. All right. So grab your little Wilderness Trail. All right. Beautiful. All right. This one is 116.9 proof, family reserve cash strength. And I'll be honest, my like Instagram video, but had a huge with Wilderness Trail and their whiskey. Like I just
You broke up real quick. What'd you say?
Okay. So I said it on my Instagram. I have not had a huge like relationship with drinking Wilderness Trail, because some of the stuff on the shelf has been super hit or miss for me. And some of the, you know, store picks that I've tried, some are really good. Some I'm like, I wouldn't, you know, like it's not one of those ones that if I see it, I'm like, I need to try a store pick. So when I actually taste something from people whose palate I can respect, I get excited. So I'm looking forward to trying this one.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, what's super cool about this one was David actually joined us for this pick.
I was wondering if this was the pick. I was wondering if this was one of the picks we did that day. Okay, that makes sense.
It was. We had a really fun day down in Kentucky. It was like some members of the Baxis team, some of our community members. So again, like the whole idea, people that use our app, they track what they have at home in their collection. And like we said, a big part of this is connecting people with bottles, you know, bourbon, people and all of that they love. And so one of the coolest things was being able to go into people's collections, say like, okay, you know, we did a twofer, we did a Russell's Reserve pick that day, and we did the Wilderness Trail, and being able to take people and like, hey, you're a huge Russell's Reserve fan, and bringing them with us, and then going to see what was going on over there also was just phenomenal.
That's awesome. And you know, one thing I love is like when it comes to picking barrels, those are always like the ones that I like most, when they're like, we didn't just pick people that we know, but people that we know this, you know this brand, like this brand, have picked great things or tasted great things from this. So I'm excited. This one's a 5-year. All right. It smells delicious.
I popped out the burgundy glass tonight because I was feeling real fancy, and let me tell you, this nose hit me like a Mack truck in this thing right now. So I have some backups here, but I was like, we're gonna be on camera. I gotta bring a little zhuzh to it, but
little bougie, you know.
I was gonna say I am and will forever be a diehard Knicks fan, but David, to your point about there not being any professional sports teams in Kentucky, if and when I am ever given the opportunity for an expansion team in the NBA, I am bringing back the Kentucky Colonels.
Oh, you have to bring back.
I am bringing back the Kentucky Colonels. Like they, you know, ABA team won the last championship before they got you know, dissolved over there. Which, by the way, was also an absolute crime. They only got dissolved, if I recall correctly, because I don't remember who it was, but there was a player on their team that the Bulls, I believe, had the draft rights to. And so the Bulls basically rejected allowing them into the league because if they made it into the league, then their players he would have been under protection.
Wow.
Chicago is terrified of Kentucky. They're terrified we grow too powerful, right?
I'm not gonna lie, like I'm all for that, because one of the hardest things about this show is finding people in the whiskey community that actually know a single player that's in the NBA. Like when I was creating the roster for this, like 9 times out of 10, the brands will go, we have no one on our organization that follows the NBA, but we'll send you bottles and just talk about whiskey and then leave. Like, or, I'm talking to content creators. I'm like, hey, you live in this place. Are you a fan? They're like, no, you have one for football. You have one for this. I'm like, man, this sucks. So having one in Louisville would at least give me a plethora of people
That's true.
to pick from.
The bourbon community would flock to that. Oh, fun little basketball fact. You mentioned Bardstown Bourbon Company. Shout out to Bardstown Bourbon Company, producing a lot of good juice this year. Nick Smith, head distiller at Bardstown Bourbon Company. He and I were on a youth basketball team together. I was awful. He was pretty darn good. He's like 6'6", by the way, so he was always a foot taller than me. But pretty good athlete. So just another little weird basketball bourbon connection there. He'd be down. He'd be down to class.
Between Nick and Dan Calloway, they could field a pretty good team over at Bardstown.
They'd have height. You know what I mean? They'd definitely have that.
Hey, I'm down for that. All right, this is good. All right, I take back any thoughts I had about Wilderness Trail picks because this is actually really stinking good. What do you think, Apollo?
It's good, man. I like it. It's really smooth. It's not as spicy as other whiskeys. It's really, really smooth. I can't get a note because, by the way, guys, I'm terrible at this stuff. Okay,
no. All right, I'm gonna interject. All right, I tell this to all of our guests because Apollo's like the girl at the high school dance that everyone's like, oh yeah, and he's like, sorry guys, I don't look good. Like, no, stop. So when we started this show. Apollo.
What an analogy. Go ahead.
It is what it is. Like when we started the show, Apollo was not a whiskey connoisseur. And when I decided that I wanted to do the show, I didn't want it to just be with someone that was also in the whiskey community like me, because I wanted to show like the difference between someone getting to understand the complexities of whiskey, because I know that there's a lot of people that watch the show that haven't encountered good whiskey or don't drink good whiskey. Like you think of the basketball community, it's not like some of the other communities. It's less about the craft drink and more about the let's get sloppy in the stands kind of thing. And so I wanted to bring Apollo along for the journey. So if you watch the first season, he's like, I don't know what I'm looking for. And then up until this season, he's sitting on the chats with Dixon Denman, with Phil Steger, with all these, whiskey guys and pulling out what he's tasting from it and having awesome conversations with distillers and brand owners. And so when he's like, I don't know anything, that's bullcrap. Like the progression has been ridiculous. And so Apollo's doing a great job enjoying good whiskey and he's come a long way. And so, yeah, anyway.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
I love that. And I will say, unlike the nice thing about whiskey is that there is subjectiveness to it. Like it's really like what you taste, as opposed to, Huck Porty and whether or not he should have passed the ball or taken the dunk. Like, there's fundamental basketball and then there's like what was going on the ground. So
yep. I love that. And that's one thing that so many people have said to him is that everything is subjective. It can remind me of something that won't remind you because you didn't do that. You didn't have that when you were growing up. And so I'm looking forward to it. But let's talk a little bit about Knicks. All right. So one player that has been kind of a weird situation for the Knicks and Knicks fandom has been Mikal Bridges. There's some like me that have been on point, loving the Mikal trade since it happened. And then some that think it's an overpay, that think he's an rated player, this, that, and whatever. Me personally, I'm a huge fan of Mikal. And I understand some people's like concerns and confusion. It was 5 picks. 5 picks is a lot, 5 first-round picks to get him. And when he got here, there were certain things that did not transfer over from when he was with the Suns, which was his best years, and then the Nets. But lately, Bridges is averaging one of the best defenders so far in the league. His averages have been ridiculous in 2.1 steals per game, which puts him in the top 5 players in the league steals per game, and then 1.2 blocks per game, which only other players that are averaging those kind of numbers are centers, not small forwards and shooting guards. So his numbers have been incredible. And so he is clearly the player that has had the most success under the new Mike Brown regime. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts on Mikal Bridges and, him being a cornerstone to this New York Knicks team this year. I'll start with you first, Apollo.
Man, I know a lot of people are still pissed off about those picks. You know what I mean? We had to do what we had to do to get them. Unfortunately, it was a lot of picks. I get it. I can see it was a lot of picks, but the way he's playing right now, I'm not thinking about picks at all. Like I haven't thought about picks since maybe last year. You know what I mean? The fact that it's still a conversation is kind of weird. But he's been showing up on both ends of the floor. Of course, like you mentioned earlier, there's some games where we could use him a little bit more. But defensively, man, he's just been all over the place. Actually, of course, this entire season he's been playing pretty well defensively, but the game in particular that I just loved his defensive effort was against Toronto, shutting down Brandon Ingram that entire game, and he was all over everything that he did, everything he tried to do. I'm just really impressed from the difference that you can see. The guy is playing completely different from last year to this year, whether it's the system, whether it's the coach, maybe it's both. But I do think that he feels a little bit more empowered in this system. He understands the system a little bit more, and it's shown in his play for sure.
Yeah. What's crazy is like when you look at, Mikal Bridges, he is one of the guys that said from the start, that he had some questions with the Tom Thibodeau system last year. That some of the comments that he had made, there's speculations that, he was one of those big determining factors on the player that had that exit interview for Tom Thibodeau, that kind of helped push him out the door. But if you look, the growth this year, this right here, shout out to B-Ball Index for this stat. If you look from last year to this year, the growth chart is insane for Mikal Bridges defensively. Like the largest growth as a player in the league. So his numbers are through the charts for defense. So, and this is a legit source. So Mikal has had the largest year-over-year jump in defensive playmaking, and he's back to his career output, his career high. So he's putting up numbers that made him what he was in 2020. So that's great to see. That's good for us as the Knicks. Todd, what are your thoughts on Mikal Bridges?
I like him. He's obviously been like a critical player to the team and like the way that they flow. To your point earlier about like Brunson not necessarily trusting too many people with the ball, which is, something he does trust Mikal Bridges with the ball. It's something. So it is good that he has someone that he's willing to give the ball to. There are times when I watch Brunson and again, especially when they try and run ISO and they just shut him down. Like he's not quick to give up the ball. Regarding the draft picks, I don't have an issue with like the idea of picks per se, but in particularly right now, where I know we'll talk about this later, but like when it comes to the apron and salary caps, the most valuable asset for a team to have in these trades is picks, because we are at a really interesting time in the NBA where like, LeBron, Steph, like all of the old guard have hung around for quite some time, and they're going out within the next few years. Like they're gonna hang him up. And so it's super, super interesting to realize that you have this new class of players that are like this new class of superstars. I mean, you start seeing them already. They're coming through the Tatums and Brunson arguably, and like the what's his name and Shai, and like it's super interesting to see that happening. And so picks are going to be really essential over the next few years when it comes down to like being able to build up a new young core. And so someone was discussing like the a potential Giannis trade or whatever. And the biggest issues, I saw like this video on it, which was a really like brilliant point. The Bucks want drafts. They want to be able to pull in some new players and build a team, and the Knicks have no shot at that. So in order for them to do it, they're going to end up having to trade their entire roster away in a three-team trade to be able to get draft picks back. And so that's something that concerns me, not so much about Bridges versus picks, but just how freely the Knicks were basically willing to give up picks.
Yeah, and so that's where it becomes one of those like first time that I have a front office head scratch, because they were going based off of who was the coach at the time. Like, if you look at it, they were going based off of Tom Thibodeau. Why? Because they knew that Tom Thibodeau was not a guy that was going to develop a young core. So what's the point in having those picks? If Tom Thibodeau is going to be your guy for the rest of his contract, that's most of those picks that we threw away. Tom Thibodeau was not going to develop those guys. And under Tom Thibodeau, we didn't have anybody to trade Mikal for. Why? Obi Toppin, we never really gave him a ton of minutes to develop into something that would be a valuable asset to another team. We traded him for 2 second-rounders, even though he was our first-round pick. And you look at Grimes. Grimes became who he is once he left a Tom Thibodeau system. If we would have developed Grimes under Tom Thibodeau, then we would have had assets to trade away. Players that were young, developed, and we could give them away. Instead, we gave them away for nothing and then had to give all of our picks to get a Mikal. And when you look at it, it's because that front office, Brooklyn, like you said, realized that they were a dumpster fire. And what they needed to do was draft. So they needed those picks. They needed to start from scratch. And so we gave them those picks under the impression that we were going to be long haul Tom Thibodeau. And now that we're not long haul Tom Thibodeau, we are developing some young players. And now there's that possibility for that Giannis trade. Those picks do become a concern, which we'll talk about because there are some articles that have come out from credible sources that find a way around that. But it would give us the guarantee if we had those picks plus players, which we don't have. So that makes sense. But people have been griping before Giannis was even available. So we'll go from there. But we have someone that is on the open panel that I'm going to let come in real quick and give a little take on Mikal Bridges, and then I'm going to throw it to you, David. This is my guy, Al from Harlem. He is a whiskey fan himself, and he creates content as well. He's actually at halftime watching a football game, was like, yo, I'm going to pop on real quick. So that's why I'm going to let him sneak up real quick, share his take on Mikal Bridges and his value to the New York Knicks. So salute to my guy, Al from Harlem. What up, what up, what up?
Yo, what up? What up? Are my levels good?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sounds
good,
good, bro. Sounds good.
I might have a little echo because I'm in the lanai. I'm just enjoying a cigar and a little McKenna 10.
All right, all right.
Bond. Yeah,
sounds good. Sounds good. No, I appreciate you coming up. But halftime of the game, I want to hear your thoughts.
It's not even halftime yet. I said screw it. I'm gonna just mute the game and I'm gonna jump in with you guys because I just finished recording my podcast. So I was like, everything is fresh in mind. So I was like, let me jump on now. So what did you want me to touch on? You said Mikal?
Yeah, so we're talking on Mikal because, this season has been the biggest jump. For if you look at it, I was reading an article today from Yahoo Sports that was talking about how there are so many players that we thought would thrive, in this Mike Brown system, some that we thought would struggle. But when we look at it, the player that has thrived the most under this new system, and you have heard Mike Brown talk till he's blue in the face about how great Mikal Bridges is to this team. Yeah. And so we've seen that growth in Mikal. Yet you still have people that are completely divided in they want to trade him for a 12-piece fried chicken from KFC and a side of, Big League Chew. And then you got some that are like, he's untouchable, like never touch him. What are your thoughts on Mikal Bridges?
It's an amazing discussion. I think last year I was pretty sour on the way that he played. This year is a complete 180. Like he's playing awesome, right? He's having a career year. But then the weird thing about it and what's going to turn a lot of fans against him is that people are going to stop and look at that trade once again, the 7 picks. And that trade is going to be the reason why we don't get Giannis. Now, me personally, I don't really care. I'm worried about Giannis's Achilles. I would hate for him to come here and pop his Achilles on our watch. And I'm a Jets fan too, so it already happened to me with Aaron Rodgers.
Bro, same here, bro.
Hoping to win the Super Bowl. He was supposed to bring us the Super Bowl, pops his Achilles. If Giannis comes here, we mortgage our future. We make the trade happen somehow. And he comes here, and with our luck, he pops his freaking Achilles. My heart can't take that, man. I don't know where I'll be. I don't know what I'll do, man. So, but it's interesting that Mikal's having such a good year, but he is going to be the reason that we don't get Giannis because they need picks, as Todd was saying. Good points, Todd. They need picks. They don't have any picks. So they're going to want a package that has picks around it because they're not going to be good for the foreseeable future once they trade Giannis. So they need something to build on. They're not going to build on if we give them whatever, say we give them Mikal, say we give them OG. That's cool, but they still need draft picks on top of that because they need to build. They need to continue to build. So the weird thing is that they tried to appease Giannis for so long that they've mortgaged their future to get all these players to appease him, to get him to stay. And now he wants to leave, and now they're screwed. They have no picks.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting conversation.
We're going to talk about the Giannis trade a little later in the show. What up, Fit Care? Saying what up to David.
But Mikal on just Mikal, he's no complaints on him this year. He is balling. He's looking like a defensive player of the year. He's looking worthy of the 7 picks, actually.
And that's the thing is you have to look at the grand scheme of things. So many people think that picks are only worth, a guy that can put up 34, a night. But this is the guy that stopped the 30-plus point scorer in Toronto,
Tatum.
And stopped Tatum in the playoffs, stopped Ingram in this last game. So when you look at that, you have to go, okay, there's 2 sides of a basketball game. Like, I know we're in this modern NBA where it's let's just see how many points we can get on the board.
Yeah. People just look at box scores.
But you still, when it comes to playoff time, even more, a solid defender is important. A guy like Mikal that can read when a pass is coming and take it down for the easy 2 on the other end is important. So, yes, it might stop us from the Giannis trade, and we'll talk about that later, but maybe that might be a good thing. David introduced us to a song about Stat and Mello. Well, what do I think when I hear Stat and Mello? I think injury and blown trades, that's what I think. Trades that cost us way too much that we, gives me all that Antonio McDyess era kind of thoughts, And so I agree, maybe those picks were a lot, but at the end of the day, maybe it bought us a future, instead of going all in on a player and giving those picks. Because now if the Knicks want Giannis, we're going to talk about it, it has to be creative instead of just robbing ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, and we had to overpay to get him, right? Like there was no way around that. But with respect to like the defender that he is, what's interesting is that you need defenders like him, but you also need different types of defenders. I think him and OG are completely different defenders. If you look at the Celtics game, Mikal couldn't really stop Jaylen Brown. Like he can't stop like a stronger dude because of his build, but OG can, right? And so Mikal is more of a tactician, and he can stop people in different ways, and then OG can stop people in different ways as well. Like they're a good contrast to each other, and they can help us stop more players that are coming against us. So I think they're a good pairing.
Yeah, I agree. And so before I let you go, Al, I want to share this stat right here because I think it's important for us to look at, okay? In the league, okay, these are players that have multi-steal games this season. There's only 5 of them, okay? Top 5. Wow. Dyson Daniels, 17. Ron Holland, 15. Mikal Bridges, 13. And then 2 from OKC. So these aren't bum numbers. Mikal is on the stat boards that your everyday, like, passive NBA fan would not be paying attention to. Like, because they're just looking at the points or what you can, like, create into a highlight reel. But a lot of these games are not wins without Mikal Bridges. A lot of these games go into the loss column without Mikal Bridges. And what's great is when the game slows down a little bit, not against OKC, but against most other teams in the playoffs, the mid-range becomes very important.
Yeah, mid-range is king.
Bucket matters. And Mikal is the mid-range king. To me, the best mid-range player since DeMar DeRozan. And so, it's one of those things that he can truly change the game. So, Al, appreciate you coming up. Let everybody know.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Where can they follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter, semiauto155. I host a podcast called Nick Life Crisis. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify and Apple as well. Hope to see you guys interacting there. I am going to continue to hang on and listen to the rest of the pod, though. Love what you guys are doing. Love the concept, and keep doing your thing, man.
So later on, when we talk about, the trade,
I'm gonna be here.
Thoughts on the trade, feel free to click that link once again. We'll bring you back up. But we will have you on the show because you're a whiskey guy. So we're going to send you out some samples and get you on an episode after Christmas.
Just follow you on Twitter too, my guy.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna follow back right now.
Appreciate you, Al.
Mm-hmm.
All right, David, what are your thoughts on Mikal? I know the work season has caught you down, a little bit, few games behind, but you still know the gist of Mikal.
I'm still staying plugged in. Listen, I agree with a lot of what's been said. I think any criticism of Mikal Bridges right now is not because of Mikal Bridges and what Mikal Bridges is doing on both sides of the ball, right? And let's just be honest there. He is excelling in Mike Brown's system. He is doing what he's getting paid to do better than he's been doing it for the last few years. You mentioned 2020, Phil, that career banner year. He's right up to those numbers defensively. We love to see it. He's impactful on both sides of the ball. I don't want to jinx anything. He's durable, right? Like, I want someone who's going to impact through and to and through the playoffs. And he's the kind of player who ultimately, knock on wood, God willing, we have a good playoff run. We're going to look back on those games. And just like you said, Phil, we're going to say, hey, some of those wins could have been in the loss column if not for Mikal Bridges impacting on both sides of the ball. Mid-range is going to be king in the playoffs, and defense is going to win championships. Having someone like Mikal Bridges who can shut down a star and keep them to under 30 for a night is going to be how this Knicks team makes another deep run.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that we cannot overstate that. Yes, we lost picks. And the effects of that, we're gonna talk about. Y'all are gonna be talking about that all season, right? Because that's a lot to grok, and that's a lot to think about and wrap one's head around. And I think that picture is gonna get clearer later on in the season. I think it's gonna get clearer in a week or so when we maybe know how everything Giannis pans out. Maybe 2 weeks, whatever that is. Maybe it's before the holidays. Maybe it's not. But ultimately, if we want to win now, which I think we all do, and I think was the ethos behind the Mikal Bridges trade, he is up to snuff, and he is towing the party line in every way, shape, or form on both sides of the ball. So that's kind of what I have to say about it. I think any criticism of Mikal, it's not for how Mikal's playing. It can't be right now. Yeah. It's good basketball, and you know what? It's playoff facing basketball, especially on the defensive end.
Facts. That's a great take. Shout out to Gene in the building. Shout out to my guy Smooth out in Philly. Shout out to Prezi. Great takes. Love what you guys are doing. And I love those points, because one of the things that, is very important to keep in mind with Mikal Bridges is the fact that he is the NBA's Iron Man at this point in the league. Like, there is no player that has played the amount of games and played them well and played the amount of minutes that Mikal has played and not sustained an injury. And if you can escape a Tom Thibodeau season and the amount of minutes that you played under Tom Thibodeau and not get injured, that is a blessing. And when it comes playoff time, especially when you look at a roster like Josh Hart, who's had injuries, OG, who's had injuries, Mitchell Robinson played with injuries. All these guys that have injuries, you need a guy like that you can bank on. You need someone that you can trust, someone that you can rely on, and that is Mikal Bridges. So before we go on to the Knicks, let's pull out this next bottle. All right, we're gonna go with this one right here. All right, this is that Augusta 8. All right, so this is Old Route 8 from the Augusta Distillery. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, we tried an Augusta 10-year from Creek's Liquors, which was incredible. And I just love what these guys are doing. This is a brand that if you're in the whiskey game, in the last 2 years, these guys have been everywhere. Every single place you go, there is Augusta. Every whiskey event, every store is pushing Augusta. And sometimes you're like, is this just hype or is this good? And so I've been thankful that Augusta has been good. So this one is 114.9, it looks like. You want to tell me a little bit about this pick, Todd?
Yeah, so this one also, like Augusta, to your point, we like big fans of Augusta, big fans of what they're doing. They're building like just a really cool distillery up in Augusta, Kentucky. Or they built it already, and they're building like a whole, again, same, around the community over there. A lot of people in the community in Augusta like are involved in some way, shape, or form, or like economically with the distillery, which is super cool. All the stuff that they're releasing right now, they've been sourcing. The distillery just got up and running within the past 3 years, but they've been really, I think they've been really methodical about how they source. Like part of their whole reason is that they don't want to release anything under 8 years old. So that's why they started with the old Reddit. They obviously have the Buckner's line as well, which is kind of their more premium stuff, comes in a slightly different bottle. But we met them a couple of years ago before they were like had really gotten started. We actually shared, not this year because they did such a good job last year, but last year we actually shared our booth at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival with Augusta because they didn't have a booth. It was like last minute. They were still starting up. And this year they had their own, they were running their own place over there because like everyone was looking for them and looking to try like, again, the Augustas and the Buckners. And so this was just one that we kind of fell in love with. Like they gave us a couple of different samples. I actually wasn't even there for this pick. I can't take any credit. I really enjoy it, but I can't take credit for it. The team was there and they did the pick. And again, it's one of those really popular brands that's kind of taking off, especially in that like sourced NDP space that is also actively working to having their, building their own distillery and building their own like operations. And they've already started distilling and have stuff maturing. So this one was a fun one for me and something that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. And, I'm really glad because when we did the pick last 2 weeks ago, it was the Buckners, and so when we're introducing people to whiskey on the channel, there's going to be people that are whiskey heads, but there's also going to be ones that aren't, so being able to not just showcase like this is the brand's highest class of whiskey, but being able to be like, hey, this is some of the more like you want to start tasting whiskeys, testing whiskeys. This might be at a lower price point, but it's still going to be absolutely delicious. And I love that about Augusta because there are some brands that have started releasing stuff too early. And as they've waited, their stuff has gotten so much better, but they spend so much time trying to break the preconceptions that people already have of them for their younger whiskeys that they released that weren't quite mature enough to be released. So I think it's a very smart move for them. Some have pulled it off, but some have had to play like makeup because they released too early. So I'm excited for this one.
And quick question for Todd, who, by the way, I have like 4 names for Todd that I cycle through depending on who else we're chatting for. Some of them are just like, sir, hey sir, I have a question. I'm older than Todd, but he's in many ways my elder. Todd, this comes from this is a 78-13-9 mash bill, which is maybe actually I'm wondering if it's a 78.5 13 8.5 mash bill, like the mystery sourced mash bill. I'm not saying name names. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on this mash bill that we see from no major distillers, by the way. No major distiller says they have this mash bill, but a ton of independent bottlers, NDPs, whatever you want to call it, put out bourbon with this mash bill. So Todd, I just want to get your thoughts on that real quick.
Yeah, again, I also have no inside information into where this came from, but if one were to select like a particular alliterative distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky, I don't think that they would be wrong. I think is the best way to put it. Like that is one thing that it's interesting because we'll get to that actually a little bit later when we do. I did throw one scotch in there for you guys, and that one also it talks a little bit about like how the NDP works like in the US versus like the independent bottlers in the UK.
Yeah.
A lot of different systems. In the US, there's almost no one that lets you say where you sourced your stuff from. I actually think it's a negative. I think that they would be smarter off if they did. I think part of the idea is they don't want. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that they don't want to do it. They don't want, like, if somebody gets particularly great barrels, they don't want to, they don't want people saying like, oh, I'm only going to buy these guys' stuff. And at the same time, on the flip side, if stuff should be blended, David and I have had this conversation before on how everything is always single barrel and cash strength right now. And not everything should be single barrel and cash strength. Yep. Like some things are actually better blended away. So I think it's a way for them to protect themselves as well from like people saying, I don't like this distillery stuff because it's being served in a way that they wouldn't. But this distillate I really like it. There's a certain note on it that I actually use to identify this distillery. Like it's the one thing when I'm served blind and I'm like, oh, did this come from wherever? And the people are like, every once in a while they're looking in their eyes like, who told you? Because again, they're afraid of like violating their non-disclosure agreements. And I'm like, no one. It just has one particular note.
Yeah. No, I love that. And like I agree with you. It's weird to me to have that like exclusivity of information. Like if you created an awesome blend, why not brag about what you blended with? Like when I think of who is it? One thing I love about Pursuit, everything that Pursuit puts out, they've been pretty open about what the blend is, and I like that. I like the openness about what the blend is from Pursuit Spirits. And I like blends. Like Short Barrel's done a great job, getting the craft whiskey scene to appreciate their blends. And so for me, I agree. I feel like Scotch is a lot more open about what things are. And I'm a Scotch guy. Like I love Scotch. I love that like open, honest, like one of my favorite brands has been Compass Box for years. And what I love about Compass Box is it has every single thing on there. So I know that when they mix a Cole Isla with this, that they've done that before and I've loved the results. So I'm going to test that one out, because it's always given me what I've wanted from Compass Box before.
I do want to say a shout out to, you referenced Pursuit. I love the transparency Pursuit tries to bring. Even they sometimes technically can't say where certain things are sourced from. Yeah. They will maybe hint at it, but Kenny and Ryan, they're not new to this. Like they're not going to run afoul of any NDAs, or at least they're going to try not to. And I want to say there are kind of two sides to this. One, sometimes folks who are sourcing whiskey and doing great things with it, whether it be blending or doing cool things with maturation or just really curating great whiskey for the market, the NDAs might keep them from saying where they got the barrels from. And then sometimes folks are going through barrel brokers, right? That's something Todd knows quite a bit about. And they might not truly know for sure where they're buying totes or barrels of whiskey from originally, right? Because there is that kind of intermediary party. So when I say like, oh, it's an interesting, I bring this up not so much to criticize. I don't think sourcing is a crime. Dave Schmier of Proof and Wood has those t-shirts. Sourcing is not a crime. Yeah, very much in agreement with that. So I don't bring that up to criticize. I think it's just an interesting discussion. And I love how Todd basically took my like snarky little like mystery mash bill and made it a really relevant point, because we're going to talk about we have a great IB Scotch later. Right. And so it's a fun way to contrast what's going on in the American whiskey scene with a long established series of practices across the pond. Yeah. So
I love that. All right. So let's go into real quick. Apollo, what'd you think of this one? And then we're going to talk about the next player before you have to dip out.
So this one I actually got, I hate saying it because you guys make me feel bad every time I say it, but I actually got some of the usual suspects of tasting notes, which is like the vanilla caramel kind of thing to it. I didn't get that as much with the other one. I did get it with this one, but I get something else. I'm not sure if it's a stone fruit or something like that, but it's just what it's activating whenever I take a taste of it.
So out of the two, which one would you reach for first? Because I'm going to ask all of us at the end, but you're not going to be here. So
yeah, right. Yeah, unfortunately. I'm going to go with the Augusta. I think I'll go with the Augusta. Yeah.
All right. Bet. All right. So for those of y'all that are watching, you're like, why is Apollo leaving? He got a new schedule for his work for tomorrow, so he can't go too late tonight. So he won't be able to go through the gauntlet of whiskey. But I'm going to go into this next point real quick. I want to give a shout out real quick before we do to this brand right here. A little bit different of a sponsor. This is called Double Neat. So sometimes when I'm having whiskey, I realize like, oh crap, like I'm having people over for pours and I didn't have dinner yet. Like I don't want to go through like a gauntlet of whiskey pours and not eat anything. And so a lot of the snacks that you would normally grab can ruin the taste of whiskey. So Double Neat actually came out with some snacks that you can enjoy while you're having whiskey. And so some of them are like this right here. This is barrel picked beef jerky, bourbon glazed, kind of cool. Then this right here is whiskey pecans, slow roasted, and kind of love that.
I finished those already, by the way.
I love pecans when I'm drinking whiskey. So the fact that they're whiskey, bourbon almonds, this is pretty awesome. And then this right here, I'm a huge coffee nerd, which is why I'm gonna have the Orange and Brewed Sky show coming soon. They got whiskey coffee ground organic. So check them out. They're called Double Neat. But let's move on to our next company. Double what? It's called Double Neat.
Neat.
Shout out to CSD Grizzlies in the building.
Not neat.
All right, so here we go. Let's talk about this guy. All right, this is the next topic of conversation, because sometimes I feel like Knicks fans are so fickle on who you can talk about and who you can't. And I feel like when they love a player, that player is untouchable. And so, without further ado, Jalen Brunson. I love Jalen Brunson. I'm going to say that straight up. Like I told you guys, I'm wearing a Jalen Brunson shirt right now. So you can't say that what I'm saying is because I hate Jalen Brunson, because that's honestly Knicks Twitter and like Knicks Instagram, like automatic thing. If you criticize something, you hate that person. I love Jalen Brunson as a basketball player. However, I feel like he has struggled the most under this new system. At first, it looked like he was the one that thrived the most in the first few games. But these last few games, I feel like he's resulting back into his ISO-focused ways, even to the point where Clyde Walt-Frazier, this is my measure of, I know I can talk about it without getting crucified by the Knicks community, is if Clyde Walt-Frazier says it on national television. And he said it so much last night. He said, why are we constantly dribbling the air out of the ball? And who's got the ball? Jalen Brunson. And he says, the reason we had that happen is because we didn't need to keep the ball in our hands for that long. And who had the ball? Jalen Brunson. And so the game against the Celtics, where I feel like he did not revert to the teammates that were doing well, such as McHale and Towns, shows that Jalen Brunson is having some issues making this a full-on team game and not a Jalen Brunson and the Pips, where he's Gladys Knight and everybody else is a backup singer. So what are your thoughts on that, Apollo?
I personally think the person that's struggling the most in this system is Cat, and it's going to be really hard to convince me otherwise. But when it comes to Jalen and the over dribbling, I do think that we're falling back in those habits that from last year. I also think that I think they spoke about it. I think was it Alan Hahn? I think that asked Cat after one of these games. It's starting to revert a little bit more into the offense that it kind of was last year. Not as much passing, a little bit more. And I think what's happened is I think the team at some point had a lot of problems adapting to the new system. And I think in that time, the coach said, you know what, let's just try to make you guys comfortable and then fit you in the system instead of just switching it all, at one time. And I think that's probably what we're seeing. And unfortunately, that involves a lot of ISO. And I say unfortunate because I don't like seeing it either. As much as I love Jalen Brunson, I don't like to see when these guys just dribble the air out the ball. It starts to get predictable because if he doesn't have a shot, then everyone on the defense knows that he's going to pass it. So it kind of makes it difficult. Even if he does get the pass off, guys are expecting him to pass it. So whoever he passes it to, the defender usually gets out to them very fast. So I think the issue that Jalen is having with this is learning how to be a point guard, a true point guard in this system consistently. He doesn't have a problem scoring. I don't think that's the issue that he has. It's about getting the other players involved, especially feeding the hot hand, like you said, Cat during the Celtics. I mean, not Cat, McCall during the Celtics game. I would like to see him incorporate the team a little bit more, but I just want to see the team as a whole get back into the way we looked towards the beginning of the season. A little bit more ball movement. We spoke about the Huck Porty play. I think the habit of the ball movement is still there, which is a good thing, but I don't think it's enforced as much. And I think we're starting to see a lot more ISO due to that. So personally, I would like to see Jalen, be a little bit more of a point guard at times, especially the games we're struggling. I think we should stick to the newer system more when we're playing teams that are, like the Magics and the teams that we struggle against. These light teams like the Brooklyn games and the Charlotte game. To me, you can throw out whatever system that you want during those games. Let the guys get comfortable, but I think we should revert a little bit more back to what we were doing earlier in the season to get more guys involved, because it's starting to get a little bit predictable and hard to watch sometimes. And I don't want to see us happy every single time we win, and the only time we win is versus teams like the Hornets and the Brooklyn Nets. So I think there's a little bit of a struggle with everyone, especially our best two players. Cat is a little bit every other game is a different kind of cat. You don't really know what you're going to get out of him. So I feel like Jalen tries to be that guy, put the cape on every night, and he doesn't have to do that every night. So just figuring out that balance, I feel like, is our issue that we've been having this year so far, especially within the past, like maybe 10 games.
Yeah, that's a great take. Shout out to my guy, Parrish Duggar. Appreciate you so much being in here. Shout out to all 315 plus of you in the chat right now watching the show. We appreciate you guys. If you guys can, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, retweet it, share it on Instagram. Shout out to my guy, Semi Auto. He said, I'm definitely ordering something from Double Neat. What a great concept. Fact, bro. I'm seriously devouring these whiskey pecans. This could be the best pecan I've ever had in my life. Like, this is absolutely delicious. And I'm not saying that because they sent it, because I don't have to say anything. That's the great thing about like being a whiskey creator, is that if it sucks, you just don't post anything and the brand's fine with that. But these things are delicious. So pick them up. They're delicious. But to your point, Apollo, I think that's the problem. Is in games like the Charlotte game where we're like, just revert to whatever, and you go back to that ISO. Then when games matter, like that Boston game, you're prone to go back to that because you've done it, And so when you get comfortable and you go back to something that is not supposed to be the new identity of the team, it causes issues, which is why Jalen Brunson reverted to Captain Clutch hero basketball in the last minute and a half of that Boston game. And so for me, I want to win games because our team is better, not because one player is better. And that's what we need to actually win. Because if you look at OKC, they're not going, oh, well, we have Shea. Shea has to take the last point. No, it could be Shea. It could be Chet. It could be Jason, it could be any of those guys. It could be Hartenstein. It doesn't really matter. They just want to win and want to keep their record intact. And they're doing that. On any given night, you can get destroyed by somebody. Yes, if Shea's having a good night, Shea's going to have a great night, But that's the thing, is on nights that Shea is off, that team is still elite because they're relying on the strengths of the rest of their players on their roster. And that's what we need to start doing, is relying on the strength of not just Jalen Brunson, but on everybody. And to that, I go, Mike Brown, what the frick are you doing? Like, we are this far into the season. You need to implement actual plays that you call and make the team go for it, because it's too far in the season, in my opinion, to still be getting accustomed to the new system. Like, if you can't get accustomed to the new system, like, there's something wrong. You're a pro level athlete making millions upon millions of dollars in our starting lineup as the Knicks. Get it together. So, Apollo, I know you got to go. Appreciate you, like always. Shout out to you. Shout out to your family. We're going to keep the conversation going. If anyone in the chat wants to come up and take Apollo's rightful throne on the chat and be part of the open panel, you're more than welcome to. Anything you want to say before you go, Apollo?
It's a big seat to fill. Just kidding. Listen, man, I salute to you guys, Todd, David. Nice to meet you guys. What are the last two that you guys are going to be tasting? Because that doesn't mean that I'm done for the night. Just letting you know. But just letting you know what those two
Black's
are.
Boat.
Okay. Black
And
Smoke.
then the Russell's Reserve.
Russell. Got it. Say no more. I will still be following you guys, while you guys continue to talk, but I'm gonna start heading off and get ready for tomorrow, man. Thank you guys once again. Salute to you guys and salute to the chat.
Before you go, we got the Jazz tomorrow. What are your thoughts?
Gotta be a win. What's his name's been hot. Markkanen's been hot. He's been hot as hell. It shouldn't be an issue for us. This should be a victory. This is one of those games where it's a test to see if we're going to come into this game like we should win, which is the attitude that I hate. That we're more talented than them, so we should win the game. And that's I feel like one of our issues is we feel like because of our talent, we don't have to work as hard as other teams. So other teams come in and work harder than us and they beat us. So I feel like as long as we don't have the mentality of we're the better team and you still got to go out there and play basketball, I think we should win this game. So
I agree. And like you said, we let our foot off the gas sometimes. And so think of the eighth best player on the Utah Jazz and expect them to have a historical night tomorrow night, because that's what we do as the Knicks. I appreciate you, Apollo. You have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Cheers, Apollo.
Later, bro.
Take care, man.
I cut him off too early. Anyway,
he's out.
All right. He's gone. Out of sight, out of mind. Got to move on. All right. So before we go into the next talk, let's talk about this thing right here.
By the way, when I saw this in the bag, Todd dropped off these bottles on my door, literally on my doorstep today, right? Like a lost babe. And this one got me really excited.
Honestly,
really excited.
Shout out to Todd. I'm not going to lie. I had clenched butt cheeks on whether or not you were going to actually get the bottles in time because I texted him yesterday and I'm like, David got his bottles, right? And he's like, I'm going to drop them off tomorrow. And I'm like, oh gosh. Okay. Let's hope this happens. So shout out to Todd for coming through on that. But I'm stoked on this because I had no clue who Single Cask Nation was until this past year at Kentucky Bourbon Fest. At the bottle share at the hotel, someone had a Bunnahabhain that they released, and I was blown away. And I was so mad because there's only a few bottles left, but it's at a store in Connecticut, and you have to pick it up. And I'm like, what the frick? So they sent me some samples of it, but I so want a bottle of it. But it gave me such a respect for Single Cask Nation. And I'll be honest, I've never heard of Blacksboat Bridge, but I'm a whiskey guy. So I'm a Scotch guy. I love Scotch. So I'm excited to try this. This is a 12-year, 50.3 alcohol by volume. So I'm excited for this one. You want to tell me a little bit about this one, Todd?
Yeah, so Single Cask Nation they're some of my favorite people in this space. I literally owe them my foray into whiskey was because of them. I was working at a whiskey event that they put on, and that was really my origin story, where I learned to appreciate whiskey and learned about these collectors who obviously care deeply about this stuff. So really just shout out to Joshua and Jason, and now they have Jess on the team as well. It's really grown, but they're fantastic. And truly, when we were talking about people who live and love whiskey, they started, they connected, Joshua and Jason, I think, connected from a whiskey blog. It started as a hobby, a passion between two friends who said, we want to bring great whiskey at really good prices. And that's kind of the business model that they've always stuck with. They got acquired last year or a year or two ago or something by artisanal distillers who own SMWS.
Yep.
Yeah. But the ethos hasn't changed. If anything, it just gave them access to the types of casks that I'm sure are sitting in the SMWS collection over there. And they've always done this. They've always been single barrel, cask strength. And as much as I will be, I was talking about not everything should be single barrel, not everything should be cask strength. I do think that that's one of the things that I love about SCN is that there are things that they could have released. And I know this because I know barrels that they've passed on that they could have been charging crazy money. I'm talking Hazmat Heaven Hills with naming rights, stuff that when people do release, they go for thousands of dollars a bottle. And they were it's just not up to our standard. It's not actually something that they would enjoy drinking. And that's one of the things that they do is everything that they release is something that they actually try that they want to drink. And so I just think it's super, super cool for people to get a taste of that kind of across the board. And it's also a great way to get introduced to distilleries, whether it's on the American whiskey side, because they do American whiskeys also, or on the Scotch side in particular, or even, they were some of the earliest people getting really interesting, like rice whiskeys from Japan, like or one of my favorites that they have is a single malt from Sweden, like a Swedish single malt. Like they just really look for things that are fun and interesting. Milk and Honey out of Israel, like they just do awesome stuff. And so this one was one that was really fun. So Black's Boat Bridge, to that point, is not a distillery. It's a made up name for a distillery that happens to be that didn't have naming rights. So this one didn't have the naming rights to, and so Black's Boat Bridge has not been used by anyone else. Although I don't even know of anyone else who's done really an IB of this brand. Black's Boat Bridge is a landmark that I believe is very close to the distillery. So if you Google it and you Google distilleries near there, you'll figure out which one it is. But what is super cool is that this distillery is known and notorious for almost everything. In fact, I can't think everything that comes out of there is sherried, super, super heavily sherried.
Yeah.
And this was the first time that I had ever seen one and tasted one that was a pure bourbon cask maturation. And so it's a totally different flavor experience than anything you're ever getting out of this distillery.
I love it. And that's the thing that I loved about, like, when I connected with them, was they were passionate about what they choose. Like, I feel like a lot of times, people go and they're like, oh, we're going to pick a barrel, and we're lining up these 5 distilleries this week, and it's like, you're putting out the barrels because you're there and why not, but with these guys, they have a standard of what they want to release and they do it, and they do it in excellence. Like the Cole Isla, I think 16 or something like that they sent me was insane. Like I'm a huge Cole Isla 12 fan. And they're always looking for something that will make, if you like that brand, it'll make you like that brand even more and like Cask Nation that much more. So I'm excited for this one. So when is Kentucky Bourbon Festival? That was September, right?
It's usually early September.
Yeah. Early
I think the
September,
dates let me look up the dates for 2026.
I think it's the 10th.
It's the 10th. You nailed it. 10th to 13th. Bardstown, Kentucky.
September 10th through 13th. I will be there. David Thomas will be there. Baxis for sure will be there.
Baxis will be there. I might be, but Baxis will definitely be.
Okay. Baxis will be there, either serving something out of a car or out of a bottle that looks like a porta potty. I don't know. They have all the craziest bottles that you could actually want to taste whiskey out of. They have it. So I'm excited for it. All right. Let's try this one.
This is super fun. I mean, Todd, when I saw the Black's Boat Bridge, I leaned back in my chair because I didn't know what was in the bag until I sat down at my desk and I was going through, and it was the last one I pulled out, and I just go, oh man, because then I saw it was first fill bourbon, and I was like, no sherry on this. I don't know. I think this is the first thing I've ever had from this place with no sherry, and it's delicious.
This is so unique, like for me, when it comes to like whiskey, I'm typically, when it comes to Scotch, I'm a huge Isla fan. Like I love Isla whiskey. Like give me all the Cole Islas, all the Ardbegs, all the Lagavulins, all the Lafroigs. Like I love that. And then I like, some Glenlivets and stuff like that. I'm not necessarily like a Speyside guy, like a little too salty for my likings. But this is unique tasting for a Scotch, like very, very unique tasting. Like
it does have some. I will say I get some minerality on this. I do get a little of that minerality, Phil, but in a way that's more. It's heavier. If I say salted caramel, it's more heavy on the caramel.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just a really lovely dram right now.
It's interesting because what it reminds me of, and I'm looking at the notes on the side there, the vanilla, the malt, I get all that. I get the ginger. But the uniqueness for me is that a lot of times when there's wood involved, like heavy wood, you get smokiness, in a scotch. Like I don't really get the smokiness, but I do get the oakiness that I love in brands like 2XO and stuff like that, that put a huge emphasis on like double oak. So I feel like this is like a double oak scotch kind of thing. Like I get the oak and it's not overpowering, and it goes really well with the sweet flavors that are in this.
Yeah, no, again, that's like when they originally did it, like I got a sample before it was even bottled. Joshua gave me one to try, and I tried it, and I was like, what do I need to do? Like I was like, give me the whole barrel of this. I'm like, again,
Yeah.
It was one of those ones where like slowly over time, like most people when they see it, like it's not something that people are racing to buy off the shelves because they've never heard of it. They don't know what Black Spoke Bridge means.
Yeah.
But it's one of those ones where like when people try it, they're like, oh yeah, I'd want another one of these on my shelf tab for later. Like it's something I'd want to put away, and it's something really unique. And again, to me, that's the fun part of the whiskey that I talk about, like that I quote unquote collect, that I put away, that I actually is stuff that I drink that I'm like, this is really good. This is really unique. And I'm going to want to revisit this in 15, 20, 25 years. And this stuff will be gone, especially when it's something like a single barrel of this. And so that's the stuff when I think about collecting. It's not just it's really not about like, oh, these bottles are going to be, they're going to go up in value. They're going to be more expensive. Like we have access. I'll trade whiskey. But it's the stuff that I'm like, I'm going to want to revisit this. Like I said, down the line in the future. And and this stuff, especially for single barrel stuff, and this stuff will no longer exist. And so if I don't put one or two away, I won't have it. Like, it'll just be the memories. I won't have a way to like remind like, oh, we should open that up.
Yeah. No, I love that. Like you said, I had never heard of Black Spoke Bridge at all, if I'm honest. And I'm a Scotch drinker, and I think one of the hard things for me as someone who loves Scotch is how many times I hear the words, I'm not a Scotch drinker, from my friends in the whiskey community, and this is the kind of bottle that I would want to share with them to be like, but why? There's no reason not to be when something tastes like this. And similar to you, my collection, I'm one of those guys that I get it, I open it. Like there's very few bottles on my shelf that I don't open. However, there are a few, and those are actually the collection that if it's something that I taste and absolutely love and I'm blown away by, I buy one or two extras so that when my sons are 21, I can open them up with my sons. And so there's, like the first No Name by Compass Box. I have extra bottles of those because I want to open those with my son on his 21st birthday, So this is actually one of those that I'm like, man, this is so unique that I would love to have an extra, put it away for my sons. And so many people are like, what are you talking about? Your kid, like your oldest son is 7. And I'm like, I don't really care. Like I'm going to hold it until he's 21. And it's going to be that much more amazing when I revisit it in 14 years on the table with my son. So this is a great pick, man. You guys did an amazing job.
Thank you. And again, I can't take credit. I didn't pick it. Joshua did. He let me try it, and I said, please give it all to me. So
this is
yeah. All right. So you obviously know your Scotch. What are your thoughts on Jalen Brunson so far this season? All right, Todd. Go for it.
Yeah, was that to me? Yeah. I mean, listen. The Knicks are winning. Like they're playing well. He's playing well. He has off games like we saw against the Celtics. It's again, I play pickup basketball. I've played like league basketball. I've never played anywhere close to the level that Jalen Brunson has played at and is playing at. There's something you like, again, like, and I said this before, like, I want to see him trusting more members of the team with the ball. I want him to stop playing as much like ISO when he gets shut down. Like, I don't want to see him like, but to his credit, like we saw this against Charlotte, they'll have 2-3 guys defending him. He runs like this, ridiculously slow, seemingly lazy, like almost lost the ball. And then he just drives off them, spin move off 2 and like puts it in. So like, when the shots are falling, that's exactly what you want. You want him doing it because they end up having to put 2-3 guys on him, which means if he doesn't end up open, that ball's going to someone else on the team. But I like ball movement. I like when you're watching a team and the ball is just flowing like seamlessly across players until they find the right guy that's open. And I do think that he becomes a little bit of a dead zone for the ball a lot of times. Like the ball gets to him and he's going to do a lot of the dribbling. And the issue is the Knicks in general have seen this. They have a shot clock issue. like they spend a lot of time before they're getting up that shot. And so a lot of their last shots are stuff that they're just trying to get up there before the shot clock, before the shot clock runs out. And I do think a lot of that is that, again, like the ball is spending a lot of time in Brunson's hand. But that being said, yeah, I want him on our team and I want him playing the way that he's been playing. I just think that's, if he's looking at me for tips, that is an area of improvement I would love to see.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Phil.
No, go, Dave. Go.
I have a question for you guys. Are you, like, as Knicks fans, and I don't want you to think too much about this, like gut reaction, are you happy with Jalen Brunson as first option?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm gonna say it depends on the night, if I'm honest. Because I love Jalen Brunson. But the best version of Jalen Brunson that we've seen was early in this season when he was adopting this new system.
Right.
And his threes were coming on the pick and pops. His threes were coming when he would dish the ball, move around, find himself open, take the shot, and it was uncontested. When I'm not happy with Jalen is when he looks at what's working and says, I still want to go back to what was. Like that to me is insane. Like it's insanity for me to go back to what wasn't working when I see something that is working. And that's what bothers me, and then I have to go, okay, is he being held accountable by Mike Brown? Like is the front office, is the coach actually holding him accountable? Because in this new system, he was looking incredible, but then he goes back to his old ways of what he did under Tom Thibodeau and costs us the game. And so that's the hard part.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Phil, and I think I am, it's an issue of falling into some heuristics that are no longer applicable to the type of ball that the Knicks could excel with.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the hard part is Jalen Brunson has always played like a shooting guard. Like he is a score first kind of player, and if you look at it, you have players that are score first that, like Jason Tatum, but Jason Tatum's not the one that's dribbling down the ball most of the time, and making sure that the ball stays in his hands. Jalen Brunson is the guy that brings down the ball and then also makes the decision if he wants to be the one to score, and so when you look at our offense, a lot of times it's actually worked smoother when Mikal brings the ball down and facilitates, or if Cat brings the ball down and facilitates, or Mikal or Josh, and Jalen is forced to play off ball. But when Jalen Brunson is on ball and he decides, I want to score, it doesn't matter if it takes 20 seconds out of the 24-second clock. He's going to do it because he wants to. And that's the thing that frustrates me, when he plays those kind of games. When he plays selfless, he's one of the best players in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hear that. I don't disagree. I think to David's point about like the option one, like I'm not unhappy with it. Like we see he has these games where he's like dropping, crazy points. But I think to that point, I don't know really who, like the Knicks team and system, it's not like another team where there's just like this one definitive superstar where it's like, oh, you just give him the ball every time. Like you said with Cat, like sometimes Cat will have 35, 36, 37 points, and sometimes he has under 10. And I think that's kind of something I get with a lot of the Knicks team is that there's a lot of hit and miss. There's not a lot of consistency from players. It's not like you've got people that are doing the same great things every single night. So I see one of the comments over there. Brunson is a great leader, 100%. That is something that I love seeing, and and again, I do get the sense that like the team feels that. But again, this is kind of my point of what concerns me about the team and its structure. Is I agree with David from earlier. This is a win now team. I like we need to, because we have no building blocks for the future, basically. As a win now, as a win later team. And so do I think they could build something really great around some of the core structure? Yeah, but at the same time, I also thought that they were going to do that with DiVincenzo. And I thought that was super cool to see, like, see what they could have built out with DiVincenzo and Bridges and Hart and Brunson, and that obviously didn't happen. So I guess we'll kind of see where it goes. I mean, David, what's your take on it? I'm curious what your thought on his.
I Brunson. I asked that question. I asked like kind of devil's advocate question. Are you happy with him as a first option? Because I think that a lot of Knicks fans might not be super honest with themselves, that their response is kind of what Phil said, which is like depends on the night. And that is basically a no, right? Because like in a vacuum, the answer is no, right? If the answer is not yes, the answer is no. And I think that Jalen Brunson has rightfully accrued and earned a lot of love among the Knicks fan base, right? And I think that from some rock solid regular season performances to playoff heroics, or darn near it, I would argue, right? Like I think he's earned that. I think he's a great player. I think there is some inconsistency, maybe not in the quality of play he brings, but in the game plan that his presence can dictate and that his decisions can dictate. And I think it creates a little bit of inconsistency to where it's hard to criticize him maybe as a player, but there's this like nagging feeling in the back of your head that's like, oh, like I love him with some hesitation. So there's no like action. I don't know if I have an actionable thing to say about that, right? It's very easy to be a critic. And this is the ultimate, like, I'll get off my soapbox now. I don't have any like fixes or here's what we should do sort of thing. But I just truly believe the Knicks are a win now team. I think a championship in New York lasts a heck of a lot longer in the collective memory than almost anywhere else in the United States, potentially the world, right? So like, I think it's worth taking the big swing. I think at this point, we kind of have to dance. We have to dance with the one who brung us, and that's Jalen Brunson. And I think that there's a lot of promise this season, but I'm very interested when I talk to other Knicks fans, because it's like, are you happy with Jalen Brunson? It's a lot of yes. Well, it's such a qualified yes, and I don't think that's wrong.
All right. So before we go into the last topic, because I know David's time is limited and we're going to wrap up soon. But the way I see it, all right, one of my favorite bottles that I own in my collection is a Heaven Hill 27. Okay. But I don't drink that on every night. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. I just think that there's a certain time to pull out that bottle and there's a certain time to not pull out that bottle. And that's how I feel about Jalen Brunson's ISO game. There are times where the game is close and the only thing that's going to get us over the top is a Jalen Brunson ISO. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's have that sip. Let's enjoy it. But there's certain games, like that Boston game, when you are shooting 20-something% and you're bypassing the guy that's shooting almost 80% for the night. That I have an issue with, is when to put on the captain cape and when it's time to calm the frick down and pass the ball, so that for me is my thought on that. And so since I know David's time is almost up, we're going to pour this and then we're going to have the last topic, which I'm going to bring Al back up for. This right here is this Russell Reserve. This is 8-year private pick. Is this the one David was part of?
Is it a Tyrone or a Camp Nelson?
It's CN, Camp Nelson.
Yes, Camp Nelson.
Okay, so that is not the one that David was a part of. David did our Tyrone pick.
Okay,
yeah.
So
that was a heck of a good pick, by the way.
That's a fun one, and most of those have already sold out, like on the platform. We do have some left, but like this was a more recent pick that we did what was that, almost a year ago, way back. But that Tyrone pick was, I mean, it's up there. It's really one of my favorites.
Well, shame on you, Todd, for not sending me that one. I put the link to Baxis's website where you guys can purchase these bottles. So let's try this one, and then I'm going to bring up Al to talk about the last topic that we have, which is all the trade talks that are happening about Giannis and how we can get him, if we can get him, should we get him. Those are the huge topics. So this right here, Russell Reserve, 8 years, bottled in recent 2025. All right. This to me is one of the brands that, like, when it comes to single barrels, I feel like I'm most confident in picking up one of their single barrels without knowing a ton about it. I feel like there are very few Russell's Reserve single barrel selects that I'm like, yo, this is horrible. Some of the other brands, single barrels, I have not been a fan of, but this one to me is one of the most consistent. Tell me a little bit about this one, Todd.
Yeah. Again, I genuinely, I can't take credit for this pick. The team was there. There's a limit to the amount of people that can be inside the Rick House at Wild Turkey at the same time. And we had a bunch of members from our team and a bunch of members who hadn't been there yet, who had never experienced it. So I sat this one out, as someone, I've done enough picks. I've been on a lot of them. Not that it isn't always fun. And I got to walk around a little bit afterwards with Bruce anyways, and some other folk, but I let the team handle this one. So I can't speak to the actual why they specifically selected this. But I do know that this was a particularly, when they were going through it, and the way that they actually do picks at Wild Turkey is very cool. They really give you no information about the barrels that you're looking at until after you've made your selection. So they don't tell you which rick house it's from, where it's maturing, what floor, the age, any of that, because they want you to, pick with what you actually find the most interesting flavor versus, what you think is the most hype. And it just so happened that our team, including Owen, who's on our team, this was his first trip to Wild Turkey, so he was really excited about this. This was the one that they all voted was their favorite, although they had a bunch of others that were like close seconds. And it just happened to be that this was the same year that they released the Camp Nelson, the Camp Nelson E from as the single rick house. So they clearly were on the same wavelength was going on over there. I think this was 4th floor versus the single rick house was 5th floor.
And if for those who I've been very fortunate to spend a lot of time at Camp Nelson. I love all the Wild Turkey campuses. I often find myself preferring picks from Tyrone, but not always. At the same time, I think it's worth calling out that the atmosphere at Camp Nelson, it is the prototypical Kentucky Rickhouse campus, right? You feel very much transported, and it is very special doing a pick there. So super, super cool.
I love it. All right, let's grab a sip. That's good. It's real good. Were any of the guys that were at Kentucky Bourbon Festival part of this pick?
Yeah. That was the team. I mean, you met who was it? Rich, Scott. I'm trying to think who was there this year. Rich and Scott were there. Was Carrie was there, I think, this year. So you would have met, definitely Rich and Scott, who were the original co-founders of Booze App, which we acquired a couple of years ago and brought into Baxis. And again, that was a big part of it. It's not just about the trading, which is obviously there, but it's also keeping track of what you have at home, your collection, being able to help you find new things, and most importantly, don't get ripped off on price.
Yeah, I love that. All right, cool. So I'm going to bring up Al, and we're going to do the last topic right here. All right, there is so much talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo. And he has mentioned personally that he would choose the Knicks as his destination. Apparently, there was conversations over the summer where he made it known that the Knicks would be his desired team of choice to go to, which is kind of crazy because we spent so many years recently being the laughing stock of the NBA that no one wanted to come to. And now we're at a point that players want to come here. Apparently conversations stalled out, probably because we got Cat, so we moved on. But also they really wanted the opportunity to gain Giannis's trust. So what did they do? They went out there, they got Kuzma, they got Miles Turner. They thought that they got enough to make them contenders again, and they're not. And Giannis is not happy. So apparently this past week, he's made it known that he wants to sit down with his agent and with them and figure out what his future can look like. Conversations have said that they don't want to put him out there for the whole NBA to grab and make offers. They want to honor the fact that Giannis brought them a championship, has been loyal to the Bucks, and they want to give him to the teams that he really wants to go to. And apparently his first option is New York. So there's a lot of conversations of what that would look like. Some fans want to do it. Some fans are like, no, I don't want to touch him with a 10-foot pole. But here's some of the things that I want to share, some trade scenarios that have been on the internet. So first is one from my guy State. He said, put it in the whole calculator, and it would take Giannis, Thanasis, because, with Giannis, in order to get Giannis, you have to get his brother that will never see an actual NBA minute.
Thanasis was a Knicks G League player.
Yeah, and that's
he
where
was.
He
Yes,
he played Knicks G League.
He should have stayed there.
Sorry, have you seen the high fives that guy gives? It brings a whole other dimension to the bench that we aren't even that stats cannot currently account for.
Honestly, that's the thing. Like, if we're talking cheerleader, Thanasis is on point, like one of the best that you can get. But we have to sign him as an actual NBA player, so we'll take Thanasis.
Hey, he's actually making a good amount of money. How much is he making right there?
Thanasis is making $2.2 million.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah, but after the jock tax and agents, I mean, he's barely clearing 1.5, guys. Come on.
All right. But the fact that he's making just as much as Cole Anthony, who plays half of the game, and Thanasis maybe plays a minute and a half every night, is insane to me. But anyway, so those three for OG, Mitchell Robinson, Gershon Yabusele, and Tyler Kolek. To me, that's one of the best options available. The other is Giannis and Kyle Kuzma for Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, and picks. That one actually came from, my guys at Fireside Knicks. And then there's this one down here. Where's it at? Dang, I don't have the other one.
We don't have any picks.
Well, we do. They're older picks. So 2026, 27, 28.
The other one was probably like the 3-team trade. That's how.
Yeah, if that trade happens, we really have no picks, Todd.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So it goes from like we don't really have any picks to like, oh, we definitely don't have picks.
Yeah. So that involves a third team. And then one of the other trades, which I thought I had there, but doesn't look to be there, takes Giannis for OG, Cat, I don't even remember. But either way, we have to give up multiple players for it. And the debate is, well, you give up OG, that's a lot of strength. Well, I look at strength and I go, okay, I love OG, but let's be honest. His strength compared to Giannis's strength is leaps and bounds completely different. Like, Giannis is a whole different category of strength and like dominance. And so with the Cat trade, you obviously give up the 3-point shot. Like you do. Yep, you don't have many people. Yep. You don't have many people that are going to hit the tray, which Mike Brown's offense is based around. So you got to figure out who then would fall into that starting lineup. But we talked about this earlier with the Giannis trade. My whole thing is you have to look at the measuring stick of what we want. Right now, if we go against OKC, the way that our team is built, we get walked. Like, it is a dog walk because they are offensively and defensively insane from top to bottom. That roster is elite. And you put Cat on any of these guys, and they're going to feast on Cat as the center, like they are. Even as the small forward, they're going to feast on Cat. So for me, when I look at Giannis, I go, okay, that puts us closer to contention because Giannis can put a body on any of these guys. And strength-wise, you look how small they are at the center position. Their biggest center is Isaiah Hartenstein, and he's great, but he's not going to stop Giannis. Like, he's never been able to stop Giannis.
Yeah.
And Chet, being the beanpole that he is he can't stop Giannis either. So that makes us a lot more dominant if our level of competition is Oklahoma City. And so when I look and I go, okay, OG has not been around and Mikhail has held the banner for defense for us. So we're not necessarily struggling if we trade OG because he hasn't even been there when we've been winning these last few games. So for me, I have to choose between 3-point shooting and defending and putting buckets on the board.
Well, to go back, I just want to, because I actually pulled up like one of these trade simulators. So first of all, there's a third Antetokounmpo brother that people forget that's on a 2-way contract on the Bucks. So don't forget that there's a third shooter.
That is such a good point, though. That's such a good point.
Like how many burgers from Whataburger does he make a year?
No, I literally don't think he makes anything.
Can we sign his firstborn son too? Like, let's just sign him now.
Just take them all. Just take them all.
We can give up Huck Porty or what's that one dude, Yama something, that last guy that's on our bench?
Yabusele? No, but here's the thing.
No. The guy that none of us can pronounce his last name. And he plays like the last 36 seconds of the game.
The guy CP loves Tosan. CP loves Tosan. I don't know why, but CP always calling
Tosan could go for the third Thanasis.
Oh,
yes,
that guy.
Wait, is the third brother third Nasus? Is that what we're just gonna call it? Like,
I think it's Alex. He's the easiest to pronounce name. There's like like Giannis.
It's almost disappointing.
Exactly. But the thing is, keep in mind, because everyone's discussing. So Bridges is locked until February. He has a note. He has they can't trade him till February.
Yeah.
So that's
he can't get traded till February. I didn't know that.
Not till February. Yep.
Okay.
It's February 1st is when his what do you call it? Is when his 2-way contract like enables him to be traded.
Gotcha.
And that's a big deal. Like a bunch of the other ones, like Shamed, Yabusele or whatever, like they're done December 14th. So like theoretically they could work on a trade now. Same with Clarkson, but Bridges can't be traded till February. So that's not gonna. That's
but
not,
to me, Bridges isn't going to be part of it. Like I don't see. I don't want him being part of it. I don't see a trade for Giannis that includes Mikhail. Like I just don't. I see all the others, the Cats, the Mitches, the OGs, all being, up for grabs.
So here, I'm running a simulator. So if we did Cat and OG, and we had Giannis and who, they would have to throw somebody else in from
Mitch. Mitch is getting traded. If you look at the way that the Knicks have been managing Mitch, he's getting traded. He's on the last year of his contract. They're trying their hardest to make sure he's not injured. And he's clearly like he should be our starting center, but they don't want him to get injured so bad because they want to trade him. He's going to get traded.
So
by the way, Mitch Robinson is shooting. So Mitch Robinson is shooting 17% from the free throw line. By the way,
Kuz is probably the player that they're going to trade alongside of Giannis. Is Kuz the backup Jackson's and
is Kuz good? What's Kuz averaging? Is he good anymore? I don't know.
Kuz did good against us. That's for sure.
He's got. I know he's tall, and I want the Knicks to be taller.
No, he played pretty well against the Knicks.
Here's the thing: Kyle Kuzma is not a starter in today's NBA, but he definitely is a off the bench player that can cause trouble for your team. So you partner him with Miles McBride, with Josh Hart.
Our bench needs height too.
Exactly. So Kuzma can definitely put up a bucket.
Yeah. So assuming that they do OG and Towns and they've got Antetokounmpo and Kuzma and they do Robinson. So Robinson could go in a 3-team deal and like you could pick up some picks or something for him because the Bucks can't take all three. They could throw even if they took Thanasis or whatever, because then they'd be way over the luxury tax line.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me personally, like I like Cat. I do. Like this is not Cat hate at all. But when you have the opportunity to get one of the top 8 players in the NBA, you're foolish if you don't figure out how to make it happen, or at least try. Like you can try and fail, but you have to try.
So Portis would work if we threw in Mitchell Robinson. Portis would work actually with from the budget side. That would actually work.
So what's the full trade that you cooked up, Todd?
So this one would be Towns, Anunoby, and Robinson for Antetokounmpo, for Giannis, Kuzma, and Portis, and then they could theoretically even throw in Thanasis or whatever, and we'd still be underneath. We'd still be within like the tax limit. You know, some people would get cut or whatever it is.
Awesome.
From what I was seeing on Twitter, though, is like, or hearing from, reports or whatever, like apparently Giannis really does want to go to the Knicks. Apparently that's not just like, the Knicks want him.
We're going to talk about that in 1 second. So David, just let me know. He's got to head out. David, do you make the trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo?
I think you do. I think your point is great, Phil. I mean, you're talking about a top 8 NBA player who with top 5 potential. Like, I still think Giannis is 30 years old. I think. Like, I think he's still got a lot of. I think a motivated Giannis is something I'd really like to see in a Knicks uniform, like a highly motivated Giannis. I think you do make the trade. He's I don't want to. I think the word generational gets thrown out around a lot, but Giannis has a, let's call it, particular set of skills and attributes that can make him an incredibly impactful Knick. I just want to give a little shout out to Al. I understand your hesitation, injury wise. No one wants that, right? That made me tense up my calves, like just thinking about the potential.
I need to see the MRIs, man. I need them to leak the MRIs.
But all that to say, in a win now program and in a win now system, I have a lot of trouble saying no to a scenario in which we could get Giannis while maintaining a lot of the very positive attributes that the Knicks have. And if it means we don't have to give up Mikal Bridges, which we can't until, as Todd pointed out, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I love that.
Fair.
David, before you go, let people know where they can find you.
I really appreciate it, Phil. I've had a blast being on here and getting to be on a podcast with my friend Todd. My old buddy Todd is like an extra special treat. I'm on Instagram at David Thomas Tao and on X, but I will still call it Twitter, probably till the day I die, D_Tao. I really appreciate it. Y'all are awesome. What an amazing group. Shout out to Apollo, who had to hop off as well. Phil, thanks so much for having me on. I love everyone on this call, on this podcast. Like, you guys are the best. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, David. Have a great night,
man. Nice meeting you.
Oh, time out. Which was your favorite pour out of the 4?
Oh. Well, okay. So I was involved in the Wilderness Trail pick, so I have to kind of maybe undo my bias, but I gotta say, this Black Boat Bridge, it was really special, a lot of really fun, unique, a particular set of skills and some uniqueness to this one as well. So I'm gonna say this is my favorite for the night, but it's taste is subjective. It could always change depending on how you're sipping. So
I love that. So I just posted the link. Pick up that Black Boat. It's absolutely delicious. You will not regret it. David, thank you so much. Before we close out, we're going to talk to Todd a little bit more and Al, but appreciate you, and you have a great night, bro. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, guys.
Later. All right. So to your guys' point, when it comes to Giannis, the reason I make that trade is because even though he's 30, even though he has the Achilles injury, you're trading an injury for an injury at the end of the day. Like OG has had tons of injuries. So out one door, out the other. However, you look at the dominance. Who has won a championship out of those 3 players? OG, Cat, Giannis. Who knows how to build a winning championship roster? Giannis. Who is one of the players that even at 30 years old, no team can say they have a solution for Giannis. Like, every team's solution for Giannis is stop everyone else because you can't stop Giannis. That's everyone else's defensive scheme when you go up against the Bucks is you can't stop Giannis, but if you can stop everyone else, at least we'll still win. Well, what do you do when there's Jalen Brunson and Giannis? If your scheme is just stop Giannis, then Brunson thrives. Like, at the end of the day, Brunson and Mikal feast if your whole defensive scheme is to stop Giannis. Like, you you cannot stop Giannis and stop everybody else. So that for me is one of those things where you go, okay, at the end of the day, that's a great solution.
My ideal scenario for landing Giannis would be, I think, to give up OG and Mitch and whoever else. Obviously, not trading Macau. I really would like to. I really worry about the spacing when we trade Cat for Giannis. But I have like two things pulling at me, because at the end of last year when we lost to the Pacers, and I watched the way that Cat played defense and the way like he didn't seem like he was actually executing the defense we were supposed to be running, I was like, yo, this guy is like not a serious basketball player. Like, is he a championship caliber basketball player? Is he gonna end up winning a championship? And to me, the answer was no, coming out of last year. And so, but I do still want to pair Giannis with Cat because of the shooting ability. And I have a lot of friends that I've been arguing with this about. Cat doesn't play defense. I had a lot of friends that I've been arguing with this about, and they're like, oh, Mikal shooting 44% from three. And I'm like, yeah, that's nice, but Mikal is not what I call a shooter. Okay, you know what Giannis is shooting from three? He's shooting 43% this year. Giannis is not a shooter. Okay, so you can't just look at percentages and label someone a shooter. And Giannis, he can't shoot. He's not a shooter, so he needs to be. And his method of success, the way that he won a championship with the Bucks, was with shooting all around him. Right? We had Brook Lopez as his five, nailing threes. So I get concerned if we trade Cat away, and now he has like, I don't know, who does he have? Mitch Robb. Who does he have as the center? Someone that's not hitting threes, and now the floor gets crunched up, and it becomes harder for us to execute on the offensive side.
Yeah.
So
all right, we're going to talk about that in a second. I know Todd has to get going, so I just posted all the links to all of those bottles in here. Todd, I'm going to say my favorite of the night was also this bottle that I had no clue who the frick they were until I tasted this. So shout out to Single Cast Nation. This was incredible. A second favorite was this Russell's Reserve, but you guys put out 4 heavy hitters out of the ones I tried. Let people know where they can follow you, Todd, and anything that you have coming up that they should stay tuned for.
Yeah. We're gonna actually have some really, really big announcements coming out next week. We got a big conference that my co-founder and CTO Carrie is going to be revealing. So stay tuned. You could follow Baxis on Twitter or X. Baxis BAXUS CO. So Baxis Co. You can follow me, Web WEB40, the letter O. And you can find Baxis, search us up on Instagram and Facebook and all those places and give us a follow. But we share interesting, information about bottles, like just, fun stuff. Not so much Knicks content coming out of the Baxis page, but definitely great stuff about whiskey. But you'll definitely see some thoughts about the Knicks coming up on my end. So guys, I really appreciate you having me on. This was an absolute blast, and looking forward to doing this again and tuning into your next show, so I can go and fight with some people over proper playing for big men underneath the basket.
Appreciate you, bro. We definitely will put out a live event with you guys. Yes or no? Do you make the trade for Giannis?
Me, 100%. And I think that there's like injury concerns or whatever, but I mean we saw this with what's his name, Halliburton. Like, you got injury concerns from every player at every single age. Like, you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know when that guy's ankle or Achilles or whatever it is going to go. And so, like, if you're building off of just the we have a fear of injuries, you can't build a team that way. You need to be playing. You need to assume that these players are going to, unless it's someone who's super injury prone, who's super constantly injured, constantly on the bench. You make that trade. You want that superstar team. And frankly, I think that a Giannis, I mean, we'd have to see how the team would play. Like, definitely would change the flow, the pace and the flow. But I think a Giannis with Bridges, Hart, obviously Brunson and like Deuce McBride. Like, you telling me that that's like a potential starting 5, and that is exciting to see at the Garden.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. That's a great point. You look at the players, not that we give up, but
Yo, you froze.
All right, guys. I'm gonna have to peace out, but take care, Al.
All right, Todd. Great meeting you, man. Take care.
You too.
I'll be following your page.
Thanks.
You're back, Phil. I see you
All
moving again.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. But you put any of those guys alongside Giannis, and you have a better team than what won the Bucks the championship. Like JB alongside Giannis with Mikhail is already a better team than what Giannis won a chip with. Like that makes us better contenders than before. So I'm excited. Shout out to Todd. Appreciate you. I know you wound up leaving while I was gone. Shared this to get more views in the video.
I'm just a scarred Knick fan, but yeah, you got to make the trade if it's a good trade. You got to make the trade and hope that your doctors, obviously, they're gonna check him out and make sure that his Achilles is good and hope that everything checks out. So
yeah, and that is a big like concern. You know, it showed up that he has had the calf strain, and calf strains do tend to lead to possible Achilles injuries. But you got to look at OG as well. Like is OG just
OG's hamstrings are always,
is he a run down the court away from, being out, like that's a huge thing. And so for me, when I look at it, the fact that Cat has not gotten his extension yet shows that the Knicks are open for a trade.
And the same thing with Mitch.
Yep. I watched a video today of them interviewing Cat, and Cat saying, this is home. I want to be home. I want to play for the Knicks. I love the fans. I love this. And you hear him talking about how he wants to be home, but no extension was made for him. So before we close out,
hold on, one thing. I always said that the Cat trade was a calculated move from Leon. Either it was going to work, or if it didn't work, Cat's salary is big enough that he can be used in a trade to land a superstar that we want. So it was very calculated from Leon in going to get him.
Yeah. You got to look at it. People are saying, I can't believe we had a chance to get Giannis in the offseason and we didn't do it, this, that. There's a reason that conversation stalled. There's a reason, okay? And there's a reason that we didn't sign Cat till later in the summer. Probably because those conversations stalled. And at the end of the day, you got to look at what our trade was. We were not going to have a future with Julius Randle. They were not moving forward with Julius Randle as their future. So to be able to move off of the contract that you were ready to walk away from and bring in Cat, who gives you the option of I build on this or I use this as my trade piece.
If we paid Randle the $60 million, no one's trading for Randle once it's time to make the trade. But Cat, someone might actually take Cat. So I think that's where we're at. More to come. Always an interesting time with the Knicks. Knicks universe, man. We'll see what happens, man. It will be awesome to get him. I am scared. I will be scared until the day if he comes here and wins us the championship, he can pop his Achilles after that. But we need the championship first.
Facts. All right. Before we close, I'm gonna bring up my guy Jay Ellis, the host of the Nick of Time show, and get his thoughts on this trade.
Let's do it.
End.
Yeah, what's going on? What's going on, man?
What up, Jay?
Oh, let's go. Turn up.
Oh, hold up. Oh, goodness. Oh, my Latin assassin brothers in the background. My heart just skipped a beat real quick. I thought the night was ending, but I got to bring him up before we end. Let's go. Lee Escobedo.
Hey, what up, Lee?
I heard Jay Ellis was in the house. I was like, I'm hopping on, man.
Lee wants to debate me. Let's go.
All right, let's go. I'll go with you first, Jay. What are your thoughts on this trade?
All right, I'm going to present the other side of this entire argument.
Yes, I love that.
Y'all been very pro bring Giannis, all right? And Lee, you probably already heard some of these points already, but I'm gonna reiterate it for you guys, all right? Now, this is a new NBA, right? This is not 3 years ago. This is not 4 years ago. This is a new NBA. The new NBA demands depth. The new NBA demands fast-paced, where you can have 5 players in the 5 starters run and gun and play defense, and able to plug in your bench who can also do the same thing.
Facts.
And so now you're entering in Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Giannis Antetokounmpo is an MVP candidate. And Lee, probably you heard me say this a few times already. MVP candidates are expensive. You can't just pay them with like whatever you have laying in your pocket. They usually cost 4 first-round picks. You also gonna have to match salaries on top of that. And back in the day, you even had to take on a salary. I don't know if you're gonna be able to do all that, but that's usually the framework for an MVP. Now, it's not like before. Now there's more competition. So what that means is unless Giannis Antetokounmpo really forces the Bucks' hand to bring him to the Knicks, I'm not exactly sure how this trade works without gutting our team and having us start back at one like Brian McKnight. And that's where I am right now, because we only have one available first round pick right now, which means you're going to have to trade about 3 rotation players to get 4 first round picks to put in the package. So now you have 1 first round pick that you already have for the season. You have 3 rotation players that you have to put into a trade to get those first round picks. Then you have to match salaries. So now when you talk about matching salaries, you're talking about 5 players. You're talking about 5 players minimum going out that's in your rotation to bring back 1 MVP, and that's when it gets tricky. And so it's like, can we technically do it if you want to? Yeah, technically we could. What would be left though? I don't know. Can we get a discount if Giannis forces their hand? Yes, get a discount if Giannis forces their hand. But without Giannis forcing their hand, I don't know if this is realistic for us. And that's my rebuttal.
Hey, so one of my gripes with Mike Brown is that he was brought here to actually. Remember, Tibbs didn't develop the end of the bench. Mike Brown was supposed to do that. I haven't seen Mike Brown doing that. I want to see more Diawara minutes. I want to see more Dadier minutes. Where are those minutes? And he has a path to, and even more Hukporti minutes. He has a path to give those guys more minutes because Shamet is hurt, OG's hurt, and Robinson's only getting a few minutes a game. So why aren't these guys playing more? So now these guys haven't developed. And so now if we gut our bench for a Giannis or our team for a Giannis, these guys are not ready to step up. But that's the whole point that we brought Mike Brown here and why we fired Tom Thibodeau. But nobody's talking about that.
No. Here's the thing I'll say to push back on that, Al. Because I come from the Play the Kids, Knicks Twitter fan base.
Oh, you were part of that crew last year?
Oh, yeah. I've been part of that because I look at players like McBride, and I feel like McBride should have never taken this long to get his moments. I feel like IQ should have never played behind Alec Burks.
Okay.
Like,
all right. So
bottom line.
Pushback? Let's hear it.
All right. So hold on. I got to close my door. My wife just said it was too loud.
Yo, sorry. Thank you for letting us know.
By the way, Nick of Time, I just followed you on Instagram. So on Twitter.
Oh, salute to you, bro.
Semioto. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, hold on. Let me see.
So here's my pushback on that. Okay. So you look right now at the young guys. Okay. Pacome Dadier has gotten some minutes. I was hopeful for Pacome Dadier. I have not seen anything that has impressed me when he's gotten out there. You can say the same thing. All right.
Yeah, agree.
You look at Hukporti. He's
been bad.
Wanting Hukporti to develop. Tyler Kolek had to curse him out because he gave up a free dunk.
Hukporti's been bad
because he second guessed a free dunk to pass it out to the 3-point line. Okay, so what are we putting him in for? Diawara. I was huge on Diawara, and I still think Diawara can be good, but the minutes that I've seen from Diawara have led to airball 3-pointers, bringing down the ball and turning it over. And so I'm like, okay, maybe he's just not ready. Then I look at Tyler Kolek. Tom Thibodeau acted like was Orphan Annie, the redheaded stepchild.
He's actually been playing pretty good.
That got 1.5 minutes to 3 minutes a game last year. Now he's getting time to shine, and he is probably one of the most developed from then to now players that we've seen on the Knicks organization.
Agreed.
So I can't say that Mike Brown is not utilizing. I'm saying the ones that are actually showing promise and development, Mike Brown is actually using. And Tyler Kolek has actually put in minutes that have helped us win games defensively and offensively. So I can't say that Mike Brown is not doing anything different than Tibbs, because if so, Tyler Kolek wouldn't be getting those minutes. But he is, because he's showing growth. He's showing promise. So I look at what the players have actually contributed and what they haven't contributed, and the ones that are contributing are the ones that are being rewarded. So at the end of the day, I can't say that it's a similar situation there. To Jay's thing, what I will say to Jay, and I'll ask Jay, is I understand your thoughts and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, what player on our roster is more of a threat than Giannis Antetokounmpo next to Jalen Brunson? And I don't think.
I mean, Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best player out of the three players.
That's almost not a fair question.
But yeah, I mean, Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best player out of three players. But unfortunately, this is a team sport and not an individual sport. Otherwise, Giannis Antetokounmpo would have had 8 championships already with the Bucks, and he wouldn't have to trade anybody. He could just stay there.
I agree. Good
point.
What I'm saying is, when they won the championship, he had players that were good that he can rely on. He hasn't had that since the championship year. Okay. Cat, on the other hand, has had players that are of elite caliber. People would say that Ant-Man is probably one of the best 6 players in the league right now. Okay. Maybe top 10, maybe top 6. Yet next to him, Karl Anthony Towns couldn't bring a chip. Okay. Giannis, you look at who he was able to bring a chip next to. No one of that caliber. Okay. He had other players like Chris Middleton, this, that, and whatever, Drew Holiday, stuff like that. And he was able to bring that chip. He has never played next to a player of Jalen Brunson's caliber.
Word.
At all.
I agree with that.
And you put him next to that, partner next to Mikal Bridges, who is defensively an amazing player and can also kill it from the mid-range. And Giannis now has assets next to him that he's never had. Karl Anthony Towns has had assets of that caliber next to him and was still not able to bring a chip. Giannis was able to bring a chip with less than what we would be bringing to the table for him.
Can I rebuttal?
Yeah, of course.
All right, cool. So shout out to my girl B, who kind of made this point the other day. All right. Now, right now, currently constructed, we're pretty much similar to the Denver Nuggets and how they won their chip, where we have 2 guys who aren't the best defensively, and then we have a bunch of other guys who are good defensively, supposed to cover up for their shortcomings, and they can also shoot threes. Yeah, that's why the Knicks are hoping that we win the championship, right? Like, that's and it's not guaranteed, because nothing in life is guaranteed, because you still have to have the offensive system. You still, everybody has to buy in.
Things got to break your way.
That's the path we're choosing. That's the path we're choosing. Now, everything you said about Giannis Antetokounmpo is absolutely correct, which is why, look, right? He had all the pieces. He never played with those pieces. Which is why when I first started my argument, I started out with, it's going to take 4 first-round picks to trade for him, which is going to cause 4 rotation players plus salary matchers to bring Giannis Antetokounmpo here, which means, yes, he had all those pieces there, but we might have to trade those pieces to get him here, and he won't have what he had there over here. So the only way it will work is if Giannis Antetokounmpo says, I'm coming here, and we get him at a discount where we're only trading maybe 2 big starters instead of 4 or 5 rotation players.
But that's the thing, is I think we're already there. Like,
I don't know what's Milwaukee's incentive to accommodate him. Why?
So you got to look.
They're going to be in futility for 10 years plus.
Maybe not though. Here's the thing: when you have a player that brought a chip to your city that was not on anybody's radar to have a chip, you don't want to ruffle feathers. Like, you are not a city that players of his caliber are dying to go to. You're not. Like, at the end of the day. So what do you not want to do? You don't want to burn bridges with the whole NBA by saying, oh, we're going to, be the most difficult team to get you to where we want, which is why they're already saying that they're not making a lottery for everybody in the NBA. They want to know where Giannis wants to go, and they want to find a way to make him happy. Why?
That's true.
He brought a chip to a city that meant absolutely nothing to the NBA. No one cared about the Milwaukee Bucks until Giannis Antetokounmpo brought a chip to the Milwaukee Bucks at the end of the day. Okay? So you don't want to end that relationship on a negative note. You look at them. Dame Lillard did nothing to bring them a chip. Like, no progression. Yet they still cared about where Dame Lillard was traded. They actually made an emphasis to focus on where he really wanted to go. And what did they do? They sent him back to where he wanted to go. Could they have gotten more for Dame Lillard somewhere else that wanted to be contenders? Of course they could. But what did they do? They honored their word. They're not the kind of team that you look and go, oh, Ainge is the, organization's man over there. He's not going to actually, mean what he says. But you look at that, they made sure that Dame went somewhere that he wanted to go. Okay. And so with Giannis, they're setting a precedence for themselves as an organization. Okay. If they say publicly that they want to make sure that Dame is happy and then they trade him somewhere like Utah, no all-star, no NBA level caliber player is going to want to go to the Milwaukee Bucks.
I agree with that.
No rookie of all-star caliber is wanting to go to the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay. So Giannis has already said that he wants to go to Milwaukee. Okay. That's already something that he's already said. Get out of here. Anyway.
He was. He was cut and stretched. He wasn't sent. He was cut and stretched, and then he went home.
At the end of the day, Giannis has made it known that he would want to come to New York. And if he wants to make it known in New York, it doesn't matter if we have the picks that other teams would have. And you look at it, yes, Cat and OG would be two huge players to go in a trade for that. And people are like, oh, the injury. OG's got injuries, So at the end of the day, do you go, okay, what is our best bet to win? And I'm going to throw it to Lee from this. My thing is, I love Cat as a player. But when I look at what the standard is of who we would have to play in the finals, at right now, it's OKC. And I do not think that Cat as our number, as our guy next to Brunson, competes against OKC.
And I have a three-word rebuttal. 3 word.
That's fine.
Before you rebuttal, I'm Dominican, and I'm telling you, Cat ain't it.
Exactly. Bodega Cat is not it. He is not physical enough. He is not defensive enough to be able to contend with those guys. When it comes to guys that are actually good, he tends to shrink when it's in the paint.
Yeah.
So we need someone that's going to assert some dominance next to Jalen Brunson. Someone that can pull the the defenders to him. You look, even us, there are times that the Knicks throw 3 guys at Giannis in hopes of stopping him. So you do that to OKC, you free up Jalen Brunson. You free up Jalen Brunson, that's a guaranteed bucket. You free up McHale in the mid-range, that's a guaranteed bucket.
I gotta hear what my man Lee gotta say. He's been quiet. Lee. I need Lee. What you got on this, man? Give us your points.
I'm a yapper, so I want to be respectful until the floor was yielded to me, because I can go on a long rant. I'm known
it's yours.
I'm so curious because you were so quiet for so long, so you must be cooking up something good over there.
Well, I'm going to address 2 points. First one I'm going to address is Cat a second option? I say absolutely he is, because the second options for teams that have won championships in modernity, I use the term modernity to signify the last 5 years of the 21st century, because that's modern basketball, space and pace, so on and so forth out. The second options on many of them have been worse than Karl-Anthony Towns. I would put Karl-Anthony Towns above Jamal Murray as an overall player. I would even put him above Jamal Murray as a defender. Because one thing that Karl-Anthony Towns has shown is when he's on an island against Durant or on an island against Joker, he can hold his own. And even enough to where they won that series against Phoenix and then won the subsequent series against Denver when his last year in Minnesota. So that's, to me, a fact. Then you look at a team like Milwaukee. Karl-Anthony Towns is better than Chris Middleton as well. So when I look at Chris Middleton and Karl-Anthony Towns is a much bigger weapon than Middleton. Then I'd turn over to Golden State Warriors. Karl-Anthony Towns is a better second option than Andrew Wiggins, who Andrew Wiggins was undisputedly the best second option on that championship team as they went and won their chip. So I look at those three options, and I'm like, can Karl-Anthony Towns be a number 2 after Jalen Brunson? Absolutely, because Brunson is the best closer in the NBA. So if you have your guy who can score the last 5 points, you need someone who can score the other, 95% of his points scored for their team. Karl-Anthony Towns can definitely step into that role. I'll let someone rebuttal him and I'll move on to this.
I was just going to, the only thing I want to say is that he's not making second fiddle money. He's making the 1A money. He's making $55 million. So that's the problem with Cat, right? So if we can trade Cat, who's making that 1A money, for a real 1A and turn Brunson into a 1A minus, then that's a win for the Knicks, no? That's
I agree with that premise, but that wasn't a question that was posed. The question is Karl-Anthony Towns a number 2 option on a championship team, and I say
we weren't talking about salary.
And history and modernity says absolutely. Do I agree with you that Karl-Anthony Towns is making 1A money and he's not 1A? 100% I agree with that. But that's not his fault how much he's making. That's the fault of the organization, Gerson Rosas and so forth, who are now with the Knicks for that money. And I think B makes a great point in the chat. Is Karl-Anthony Towns better than Chet Holmgren right now? Absolutely better than Chet Holmgren. So that's 4 out of the 5 last champions. The only one I left out was the Boston Celtics. I wouldn't put Karl-Anthony Towns above Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. So that's the one that I put on. But other 4, Towns is either in the conversation neck to neck or he is substantially better. So I think those narratives should die because history.
Phil, you're on mute. Phil, you're on mute. Whatever you said, we didn't hear you.
All right. So here's my pushback on Karl-Anthony Towns. Okay. Is the fact that when he was in Minnesota, okay, you were surrounded by your number 1, which was Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert, who were both better defensively than he was. The problem with how we're constructed is that our 1A and our 1B are horrible defensively. Like, absolutely horrible defensively. Like, really bad defensively. And so that, to me, is the issue. Like, when I look at us versus OKC, we can't really allow ourselves to have help defense for Jalen Brunson against SGA, because Cat needs help defense just as much as Jalen Brunson does.
Oh, yeah. If not worse.
Yes, Cat is a better offensive player, but Cat is also not the player that's going to shut down Chet Holmgren or Isaiah Hartenstein defensively. Like, those guys put up buckets. And that's the problem. Is Cat is always slow to the to his offensive guy on the 3, and he's not great defensively when they drive it to the paint. You got Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein and all of their forwards that can do both of those in excellence. That's the problem. I'm not talking about more on the defensive end, bucket to bucket. I'm talking about defensively. The liability that having both of those guys in the starting lineup creates is having the opportunity for a team like OKC to put up so many buckets that we're playing from behind the whole time.
I'm not.
All right, but Lee, finish cooking. Finish cooking, Lee.
I'm not in disagreement to that reality because what you just described is real. I'm not going to tell you that the 1-5 in New York isn't compromised defensively, but my main man JLS made the point that Denver Nuggets did that same thing with their number 1, number 2 best player being defensively compromised, and they won the chip against probably the smartest coach in the NBA right now, in Eric Spoelstra, who has a scheme for an A, B, C, D, E backup scheme for every A scheme that he runs. So I had no doubt that Mike Brown and his staff can mitigate that schematically. You also are forgetting a key point, Phil. We can close with Mitchell Robinson at the 5, and now the 5 is no longer compromised. You can move Cat to the 4, let Cat guard the elbow on other power forwards. He's shown he can do that. I made the Kevin Durant reference in Phoenix, and then let Mitchell Robinson be the rim protector at the 5. You're no longer compromised schematically 1-5 in pick and roll coverage. So that to me, I think takes care of that. I want to return to the Giannis conversation because I find this extremely interesting because it's dominating the news cycle. I've been thinking about this all day because I thought being the motivator in me got into a cinematic debate last night on Mateo T show. It was a blow for blow. It was a heavyweight fight. She brought her A game, and I knew she would. And we talked about it beforehand. I invited her specifically to be on this show because I knew she would bring the heat, and she did. I thought Jay Ellis made some great. Honestly, so did Fritz, so did Ryan. We all cut. So it was shameless self promotion there. But I've landed on this. If Giannis tells John Horst, the Milwaukee Bucks GM, I want New York, Leon Rose to do everything he can to make that happen. However, if it is an open lottery, the best team and the best package wins, I think Leon Rose should step back and let's win with this core.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm really saying.
I agree. I agree. At the end of the day, if we have to completely bankrupt and like give up,
we can't do that.
McHale, this, that, whatever, Josh Hart, and then we get Giannis and, you know, the Thanasis brothers and a whole bunch of B-sides that we don't care about. You know, like, no, I'm not looking at him as Michael Jackson in the 5. You know, like, I don't want that. But what I'm saying is, based off of what's been said, that Giannis has already made it known. And apparently, the word is that they are not making it to where it's an open sweepstakes, that they want to accommodate to Giannis. If that's true or not, I don't know. But if it is, then that's a different story. What I'm saying, though,
that's why we lowballed him. That's why we lowballed him in the summer.
We don't know it's lowball. I mean, no one has came out and said what the package was exactly. No one said it was an overpay. There's been rumors that Mikal Bridges was a centerpiece to that, but there's been nothing concrete that came out. To
exactly.
I heard it was
and I want my girl B. Like, I've said this on Twitter, and I'll say it right here. If you're putting Mikal in any trades, shut your mouth. Like, I'm not okay with that. Shut your mouth. Like, this is a guy that is constantly available, constantly progressing, constantly pushing himself, adapting to everything that we do. I'm not okay with that. Like, that's where the trade to me is done. But to what Lee was saying earlier, yes, Spoelstra is one of the greatest coaches of all time. But if you look, at who, like, the Nuggets beat, you know, in the finals, they are nowhere close to the standard of talent and offensive capabilities of the current OKC reign. They're not. So the liabilities that they had defensively that we're comparing to, we can't compare to that because that Miami Heat team would get smoked by this current OKC roster. Like, absolutely smoked. That would be a 4-0 sweep by this.
That's not the argument, though. That's not the argument, though. OKC still has their. I mean, look what Indiana Pacers did to them last year. They took them to 7 games, and if Halliburton hadn't gotten injured, that series was going to go either way. So let's not act like there's some invincible juggernaut that can't be beat. They can be beat. It's possible. And don't also forget who the Miami Heat beat to get to that finals. I'm not trying to overinflate them. They beat Giannis and the Bucks. It's important to remember that who they went through to get to that championship series, and it's Denver. And Denver smoked them because the matchup leaned heavily toward Denver. But I give us an option because of the secret weapons we have in OG and Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson, the 3 guys who I'm always against trading because of a defensive element they bring to any series. I think it is a puncher's chance to win. Do I think OKC would still be favored? Yes. But an act like we would get smoked or we would get swept or it only go 5 or it would be a lopsided 6. I disagree with that notion because my eye test tells me otherwise in the Indiana and the OKC series. If you run and done, you play a little smaller, and if you're able to shoot a lot of threes, you compromise their defense because they're not that big on the bench. They don't have a lot of size. Kenny Hustle is really the only guy over 6'5" on their bench, and that's important to remember when they start the double big. So we know Isaiah Hartenstein too. Mitchell Robinson knows him very well. I like the elements we have on and off the court storylines.
I think we do match up good against OKC. Yeah, I agree with that. Last year we matched up good with them. We were going to beat them that first game that we played them, and then we just teetered off in the fourth quarter.
So this is the thing. When I watch games so far this season, okay, Karl Anthony Towns feasts on smaller, less developed, like
Backcourts. Or front courts,
centers,
front courts.
like Alex
Yeah.
Sarr, he feasts, against OKC in a
Charlotte
rookie,
feast.
he feasts, But when it comes to actual players that give him a little bit of like hard time, he tends to crumble a lot. And that limits him offensively and defensively. I agree with you that we would not get smoked by OKC with the current roster. I agree with that. But I'm not worried about not getting smoked. I'm worried about bringing a chip. That's why I say, okay, as much as I love OG and McHale, OG and Cat, I'd be willing to part with, because Giannis brings a strength and a toughness that we currently don't have, and also a demand for defenses to focus on him. Like, yes, Cat can pull a double team, but there are a few players that can draw from any team 3 defenders. Let's be real. And Giannis is one of those guys. And so when I look at that, I go, okay, I would be fine with doing that. You add McHale to it, I'm done. You add Miles McBride to it, I'm done. I won't consider it.
Oh,
But
Miles can go, bro.
Miles can't go. Like, Miles is one of our best 3-point shooters. Like, he is lights out right now.
13th best in the NBA. 13th best in the NBA.
I wish he was 6'6", though. He's 6'2".
So OG and
Alex
Cat,
Caruso.
I saw a trade that said OG and Cat, McHale and Kuzma. I don't really care about Kuzma, but Kuzma showed that off the bench against us, he can put buckets.
You mean Giannis and Kuzma?
Yeah, Giannis and Kuzma. Okay. So I'm not going for Kuzma, but if Kuzma comes in a trade like that, that's guaranteed buckets off of the bench, and I'm fine with that. So if I'm just going Giannis and OG, I have to go, okay, OG's still a concern with his injuries, and I love Cat, but if I can get a dominant top 10 player of the NBA and put them alongside Jalen Brunson, if defenses have to worry about Giannis, how much does that free up Captain Clutch to be freaking insane offensively? Like, absolutely.
But you do remember the Carmelo trade, right? So there is that worry is still real, right?
It's not though. It's not though. Carmelo trade was trading for Carmelo in hopes that Carmelo would bring us a chip. There's a difference. Jalen Brunson is already a better player than Carmelo Anthony ever played with. Ever.
Okay, I got you.
Like, ever. Like what player can you look at that Carmelo roster and be like, oh, that was at the level of Jalen Brunson?
Jalen Brunson, nobody.
Or even
Stat was pretty good, but he wasn't Jalen Brunson.
No, Stat was already injury prone.
Jay Ellis, what you was gonna say?
No, I think it's a legit comparison. I think we do have our. I think it's listen. It's what I said before, man. It depends on the package. It depends on the package.
Yeah,
because what I read from Shams is not just the Knicks. It's opened up. So when you're opening up,
open up.
When it was just the Knicks in the summer. So now it opened up. Now it could be opened up to be a smoke screen, so to force the Knicks to pay more.
Force us, right?
That could be it.
They always do that to us.
That could be it. It could still just be the Knicks, but it's just trying to force us to pay more. But then if you start to pay more and add multiple people, then it can look like the Dan Carmelo trade.
You gotta be able to say no.
Yeah, because
you gotta drive a hard bargain.
Yeah, because that's when you end up putting half your team in a trade for one person, and then you don't have the depth to contend with people like OKC, like that. And that was the whole point of my first rank when I got on the show.
Yeah, and that's true. In today's NBA, the Pacers last year and OKC proved that you need to be able to go at least 10 deep. At least 10 deep.
You need depth.
Yeah, you need depth.
So what I read was that they are not trying to open it up to the public, that they want to make sure that Giannis is happy at the end of the day. So those are conflicting stories. At the end of the day, if they really want to make Giannis happy, he's not going to a team that he does not want to go to. And he's made it known previously that he wants to go to the New York Knicks. That come from Windhorst's mouth himself.
Is it possible?
Was that Windhorst from the summer?
Possible? Yeah. Is it possible he could be happy going to the Lakers as well? If he likes the New York market, then maybe he likes the LA market too, right?
Here's the thing. The LA market right now is still confused. Like they still like what are they really going to trade? Like
Yeah, they can't. Yeah, I don't think the Lakers could do
You can't
anything.
trade LeBron James because
he has
at
no
the end
trade
of his
clause.
career, he's going out. You know,
He has a no trade clause. They can't trade him. They can't trade
exactly. So no, LA is not a market that he's going to go to. The only other team that I see as actual competitors
him.
for
The
us
Spurs.
are the Spurs because
The Spurs
he would be
could get him.
partnered with Victor. But
Sheesh.
from what
No,
he has
That would be
said,
disgusting.
You're missing
what you got?
OKC. OKC is also in the conversation.
Oh, they got first round picks. They're supposed to have 2 first round picks next year, bro. Unbelievable.
Here's the
How
thing.
do they have 2 first
Here's
round
the
picks
thing.
next year?
I don't see Giannis as that guy. Like when you look at some of his interviews, like paying attention to every single thing.
Oh,
When they
yeah.
talk about him being one of the greatest, he says, when I win a championship. Like that was before he won the championship. Like he was MVP. He said,
He
nope,
won a
when I win
championship the hard way.
When I do this. Giannis is not the guy that wants to be gifted something. Like he knows that if he goes to
Yep, I
OKC,
agree.
they were already contenders to win a
Yep.
championship.
That's
So-
going to taint his legacy, if anything.
Exactly. Giannis coming to New York makes it to where he can go, I help put on for the city and
I
make
agree.
New York a legacy again. And so I help New York put something up in the rafters. And so for me, I think New York is the perfect place for him. Do I want to rob us of our future and our now? No. But
Here's the
OG
thing,
and Cat
Phil.
to me can go for that.
Phil, you are only looking at this from a Knicks fan perspective. You have to think as an owner of the Milwaukee Bucks and what you would do.
Right.
Take a real strong think about that. Like, and you did make an argument as to why you would accommodate Giannis, right? But then at the end of the day, right, you could accommodate Giannis, but then you could also get these 8 first-round picks. It's
Gotta
like
find a middle ground.
At
It's
some
not
point,
gonna
you're gonna
be-
be like, 10 first-round picks or fuck Giannis. You might be like,
Here's the
fuck it,
thing.
I'm taking 10
Here's the
first-round
thing.
picks.
Exactly.
Here's the thing. The Bucks organization does not want to ruin their legacy. Like they are not known as a team that disrespects.
They're gonna
their
be
players.
bottom dwellers and no
You
revenue
can't-
for the next 10
Yo,
years.
you,
Hold on,
you
I'm
can't
not
trade
done.
Giannis and
I'm
not
not
get
done.
any picks back, though.
I'm
That's
not done. I'm not done.
team suicide.
I'm not done. You look at their roster. Besides Giannis, they are not a win now team. They're not.
They're not. Yeah, they're not.
Besides
They're not.
Giannis, if
They're
they
not.
can't win right now,
They're not
with
a win
Giannis-
now team with Giannis.
Exactly. So you trade Giannis, you get Cat and OG. You know how many picks you can get for both
those
Cat
two?
and OG
Okay.
to a team that actually are contenders? Like, you know how
Okay.
many picks you can get
That's
for
true.
2 of those players? Like, you got to think this isn't checkers. This is
Yeah.
chess. Like,
next
it's
year,
actual
Cat will
strategic
be
moves.
expiring. Next year, Cat will
so-
be expiring. Yeah.
Exactly. You look at Cat and you go, okay, I can now move Cat and get something for it. You look at OG, okay, what's a team that can deal with a player that is elite defensively but might not play the whole season? And you get all those draft picks to then put alongside Ryan Rollins, Kevin Porter Jr., and all those guys. The oldest guy you got on that roster besides Karl Anthony Towns, I think, is Portis, and that's not a guy you build the team around,
No,
So
definitely
if
not.
they realize that Giannis wants out, they're not thinking win now. They're thinking, okay, longevity. How many picks can I get for Cat? How many picks can I get for OG? As opposed to how many picks can I get for just one player? Because what if another team says, okay, I'll give you this many first rounds and this many second rounds?
I think that your angle is probably like a small percentage. Is probably like, I don't know what percentage to give it, and then the rest of it is probably the bigger percentage.
I feel like if Mikal got 5 first-round picks, they're not going to trade Giannis for 1 first-round pick. Like they're going to want
Shit, I
picks.
didn't even think about that.
They're going to want picks, and then they're going to flip OG and Cat for more picks because you're the Bucks. Nobody's coming to the Bucks in free agency.
Wait, how many picks did the guy that went to Orlando get traded for? Alligator Arms. What's his name?
Bane.
Bane.
I think, got
How many
4.
picks did he get traded for?
4. Phil,
Bro.
Yeah,
Phil, I had to agree with Al. I do think you're coming at it from a very fan perspective, and the analogy you keep returning to about how Milwaukee doesn't want to ruin their legacy, there's definitely validity in that. But
There
money
is.
talks at the end of the day.
Oh,
If
money talks,
OKC is like, here's a Godfather offer, here is the core of our
Yeah,
draft
they take
cachet,
it.
plus a combined contracts of Dort, Isaiah Hartenstein, and any young bum gives him more money than what Giannis is making. I just looked it up on the salary cap. Milwaukee would be worse than Luka Doncic's trade if they say no to that. If they're getting guaranteed lottery picks for the next 5 years, plus additional swaps, they don't say no, Phil. It doesn't matter. And you know what? That's not ruining Giannis's legacy if he goes to OKC and wins 5 championships with them. That
Well,
enhances.
he has no say. He has no say. He doesn't have a no trade clause. He
But
has
So
so
here's the
OKC
thing.
is the gutter of the NBA. They're the favorite to repeat the
Yeah.
champion. If he goes there, he's not going to be mad. It don't matter if there's no beachfront property. He's going to win chips.
Yeah, I personally, I don't see OKC doing that. Like, I don't see OKC looking for the easy championship. Like,
Why? They already won one. They already won.
I think they've been hoarding those. I think they've been hoarding.
did.
I think they've been hoarding those
think-
picks for a reason.
I think they want proof that they can continue to do that because
Bro,
right
it's all
now,
hypothetical, man. You're living in hypotheticals, bro.
no, man, who
They
right
already
now-
won one
okay,
chip the right
okay.
way.
Okay,
Yeah, they
let me
already
ask you
won one
this.
chip the right
Let me
way.
ask you this. Right now, without Giannis, who do you think is the number one contender for a championship right now?
Outside of OKC,
No, like in total.
OKC.
OKC is going to win it again.
Okay, so if they are a guarantee, like what most of us consider the guaranteed possibility for a championship already, why would they bank rob their future for another player just to still be the number one top tier?
Bro, they're not
Because
doing-
they
For 5 more. For 5 more.
think they got so many young pieces, it doesn't even matter. Like they
their
every
economy depends on the Thunder's success. If they go off and run a dynasty, OKC as a city makes exponentially more money because
they
it brings in industry and it funds infrastructure. They're going to do everything they can to win and win as much as possible after thwarting the big 3 of Harden, Russ, and Durant and getting nothing out of that. Bro, Sam Presti is a demon. There is no way he's not going to go all in if it means a dynasty with Giannis, bro. Come on.
Here's the thing is I feel like they can get other players that can help them guarantee a chip that wouldn't rob them as much as having Giannis.
They probably can.
I think, but the thing with OKC is though they've been
But Giannis
they've been hoarding first round picks for like 20
jersey
years.
sales, ticket sales.
They've been
like
what? They've been hoarding first round picks for like 20 years. 2, they already have like a weird tax bill coming up where they have to like get rid of players anyway.
Oh yeah, that's
So
happening
they're
too.
incentivized to make a trade. So this is 100%. OKC will definitely be calling them every single day.
They're
With
a dark horse.
Jay, you know how they would pay that luxury bill with the championship revenue they win.
Bro, if
Bro.
this is legitimately opened up to the rest of the NBA, the Knicks have no chance. We have no chance.
I agree. We have no
the
chance.
only
And
chance we
shouldn't.
have is that Giannis says,
exactly.
"Send me to the Knicks, or
That's what
I'm
they
gonna leak something nasty about your owner."
Word.
All right, so we will revisit this in a few weeks, but I do
Yes,
not.
we will, because this is
I do
gonna
not
keep
think
going.
Giannis goes to OKC at all. Like that,
And
is
I don't
my
think
take.
anything is happening.
I
I don't think anything
understand.
is happening until next year.
I understand money talks, but I also do not believe that the OKC are going to make it to where they go, we won these championships because of Giannis. I really don't. Like, because if you look at it, what happened with Steph Curry before they got Kevin Durant? They won before they got Durant, right?
Yeah.
And what happened after? Everyone said that they needed Durant to win those championships.
And then
And
they
people
won
were like,
again.
but we won before that. We won before Durant.
They kind of said both. They kind of said Durant. They kind of said Durant needed Golden State too, though. I heard both of those.
Exactly. And I don't think that that's a narrative that OKC needs. I think OKC is good enough right now to win now and still
Without
have a
him.
future. Or when they start to not be the top team, they can then use those picks smart wise and say, hey, we are no longer the number one and we want to be the number one again. Why, if you're already the number one, would you go, okay, I want to be that number one? Why would you go all in, especially with the fact that he's having these calf
I
strains.
get your
Say,
point. I
hey,
get your
let's
point.
rob our
The
future.
Spurs, I think,
for
might
the
be more
calf
dangerous.
strains.
I think you go all in because of Lee's earlier point. They barely beat the Pacers, and it took Halliburton to get injured to win in like game 7. It's like they want to solidify their talent so they can keep running the table.
They
I
are
think
so
that's
much
why you
better a team right
that.
now than they were last year. They are so much better.
Yeah, they are.
team
They
this
are so
year
much better
than they were
are
last
so
year.
much better.
Who?
The
OKC.
OKC.
No,
They're
they're
way
about the
better
same,
this
bro.
year.
I wouldn't say they're any better. Why are they better?
They have
Because
more
they've actually
confidence, more
gelled.
swag. I think because they
They've
actually
actually
finally
gelled.
put it. They know that they're good now.
Yeah,
They
they-
really
they-
know
They
that
were the
they're
best
good
team
now.
last year too.
They were,
a
but
great
they
team
won a
last year.
championship now, so they got like a different swagger now.
They
Like,
got a different swag. They've actually played a whole year of basketball
Yeah.
last year with one another. That they're coming into it.
Wasn't last year
completely
Chet's
The
first
team
year
has been
too?
together forever, man. Alex Caruso was the only new addition really last year.
Chet was Chet's first year. No,
Did that stop Golden State from going after Durant when they won?
they didn't. It did not. Good point. It did not.
So why
But
would it stop OKC?
To Al's point,
It
that
did
was
not.
pretty much Chet. That was pretty much Chet's rookie year last
That's-
year because his first year he was injured. So they're playing differently, in my opinion, than they did last year. They're playing with a
I
confidence.
think they
they're
are playing
with an
differently. That's the thing
assertiveness.
about me. If you make a good point, I'm gonna tell you you made a good point. I'm about
You're
to
forgetting that the injuries between Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein wrecked the first half of their season last year, though. They're not dealing with any major injuries right now.
They're
They have
clicking,
a
yeah,
fairly
they're clicking
healthy
right now.
roster with the exception of J-Dub in the beginning of the season. But now that he's back, bro, they're rolling. They
That's
didn't
what
make
I'm
any
saying.
roster changes.
That's what I'm saying. It's a
But you're saying
different.
they're much
already
better
from the
this season.
start
I
of
would
it.
say they're more confident, maybe, but not much. That's the
No,
same.
but
roster.
what he's saying is because they're rolling so much, they may not feel a need to mortgage their
Exactly.
future or make a trade for anyone. Why? For what? At the
doesn't
end of the
mortgage
day,
trade.
Giannis is 30 years old. So, and that's the thing is like he pops his Achilles. His skill set is based on athleticism. He pops his Achilles, he's done. His gonna be super steep.
And that's
He's
what
not
I'm
like
saying.
Kevin
It's like,
Durant that could keep shooting over you. He's not like that.
if you're already, what people are seeing as the most guaranteed win of the season, why rob yourselves of a future to add a player right now when if something was to happen, what would happen if Chet got injured again? Or if
They got a first-round
SGA,
draft
God
pick
forbid,
on
got
the way.
injured? You
They got
want
a
to use
first-round
those
draft pick on
picks.
the way.
You want to use those
Yeah.
picks then to be able to make sure that your team doesn't fall completely by the wayside.
I'll
So
tell you why, Phil. I'll tell you why. Because they can get Giannis and not trade any of their own picks. Their own picks are the worst picks that they own. They literally own the Clippers' future. And look at the garbage dump that the Clippers are right now, bro.
They suck.
The picks they would trade would be non-OKC picks. So 7 years from now, when SGA is 34, 35, and they're not continuing anymore, now they're drafting a lottery all over again. They're not mortgaging their future. They own picks from Dallas, from Miami, from Houston, from the Clippers. They don't have to worry about their own pick cachet. And
I
none of their
understand.
core players would go out in that trade. It would be
I'm not
Hartenstein and Dort plus a cachet.
I'm not saying
Phil, we
those
got to
picks-
regroup this whole group again
I'm
when
not-
the
I'm
trade
not
actually
saying-
happens.
I'm not saying those picks are going to get them that rookie that they're going to build upon. What I'm saying is if those picks are valuable enough right now to get Giannis, if SGA or Chet or any of those guys were to get injured in a year or two, those picks are still going to be as valuable to get them a star at that point to make sure that they fill the gap where their star who got injured is no longer a big component to them now falling by the wayside. I'm
You don't
not
play
saying
the
they're
what
going
if
to pick
game.
what?
If you have Giannis, you don't have to play the bro. You don't have to play the what if game.
I do not play the what if game with a 30-year-old who's been having calf strain issues for the last 2 years.
Because you're the defending champion. You won without him, so you can win without him again. You're giving up
Exactly.
Hartenstein and Dort, not Chet or J-Dub.
That's my
or
point.
SGA.
If you can win without him, you can win without him again, meaning this year. You can.
I see
win
both
without
sides
him
of that. I
again.
see both sides of that argument.
I
do
think
see both sides.
okay. I think what Lee is saying is this, right? What Lee is saying is to match salaries, you can give up like salary matchers that aren't like the super core of your team. And also at the same time, like we've seen before, they've been hoarding first round picks for years. So they
That's
can
what Milwaukee wants.
Right, and that's what Milwaukee wants and needs to replenish. Like they're not interested, just like how the Knicks have been punting on draft picks because of the salary cap and playing time. It's like that for OKC times 100 because they've been hoarding so many first round picks. So they dying to give this stuff away. So now you have guys in the trade who aren't like big rotational players to match salaries, and you have their most valuable asset that the Bucks want, which is a bunch of first round picks. That doesn't even have to be OKC's first round picks because they've been hoarding picks from other teams for 10 years. Now you have Giannis Antetokounmpo. You got rid of like the lesser rotation players, and if something happens down the line where you get injured, you still have your own first round picks to draft people. I think that's what Lee is saying.
Correct.
No, and I understand that, but I'm saying to Lee's point, they were good enough to win then. They're still good enough to win now. And in my opinion, if you're going to use all those picks and some of your young assets, use it when you need it, not just for the sake of doing it, especially if a player just came off of having a calf strain, which has the potential to become an Achilles issue. Us right now, we are not at a point right now where our roster can beat OKC, in my opinion, in a 7-game series. That's why you look at the possibilities, because it's not something that you think that you can really do. I don't think it makes sense for OKC to do that when you can use less assets, get another player from another team that's really freaking good that can help you now and in the future have a guaranteed chip year in and year out. I just don't think it makes sense for them to rob themselves for Giannis when they're already the number one contender.
I'm going to land my final blow.
Okay.
I want to land my KO. I got 2 points. Point number one, the pits decrease in power or potency as the years go on. This is every pit you have. No pit is like unlimited for unprotected first round pick for 4 years. It starts out that way. The next year is top 5 protected. Usually it drops the top 2, and then sometimes it'll convert into something else. The Wizards pit we have. If it doesn't convey this year, it's 2 second round pits henceforth. Right. So is an urgency for OKC to use it sooner rather than later. That's point one. My final point. OKC can use 25% of their non-Thunder picks, a quarter, and outbid the rest of the NBA.
That's what I was about to say.
So they know that Giannis, Phil, keep the pits. If Chet breaks his back and is out for the rest of his career, they know to get a Chet replacement with what's left over. Not just that other 75%, but all of their own first as well. They're fortified at a point that no team in NBA history has ever been fortified, and they have the reigning MVP and the reigning championship in their clear case right now. It makes no sense to say, we can get better, let's not do that and wait for a what if. Hell no. Use 25% of your assets and those role players and go get the 5th best player in the NBA.
I still disagree. I've read some articles. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, I understand your theory, but you also said if I am the best team in OKC and I could win, and I could still win right now without Giannis, it doesn't make sense to me. Like I'm looking at longevity. If I think that my picks have so much value, I'm looking at a player that has all-star caliber, that is not on the injury list, that is not on the older part of the age range, and I'm looking at using all of those valuable picks and possibly young assets that it would take to get Giannis, and finding a player that fits the timeline of every single other player on my list. And I looked up some articles while you were talking, and it says most of the articles have said that it is unlikely that OKC would partner to make this happen because of the kind of value in young assets that they would have to give up, plus those picks for OKC would change the demographic of OKC currently.
That's incorrect, Bill, because the salaries of Hartenstein and Lou Dort match Giannis plus or minus $4 million. You add Osman Dane to that conversation. Now they match a salary. If you show them the 2 first-round picks they're getting this year unprotected from the Clippers, bro. The Clippers pick, guaranteed lottery, that plus a Nets 2 from Miami or the Houston swaps they have, that outbids every other pick cachet You still have 75% of your draft assets. You still have Chet, J-Dub, and SGA, and you still have all of your own picks. Bro, just citing a random article doesn't dispute the future and the actual position they're in to win a chip now and also win a chip for the next decade.
I appreciate you and I love you. I still disagree. I don't see OKC.
Listen, I get it, yo. It's like at the end of the day, in the simplest terms I can put it, OKC has a lot of stuff. They have way more assets than anybody other team in the NBA. The Knicks don't have anything close to what OKC has in their cupboard, which is why they're in the best position to make a trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo and not even feel it or even waver their future at whatsoever. For us, if we were to actually pay the price tag for an actual MVP, it would cripple us. But because OKC has all these other picks and assets where they won't touch the core of their team, it won't cripple them. And that's why they're in a way better position than the Knicks are to do it without even mortgaging their future.
So I'm going to bank on the fact that Giannis wants to come to New York. And that's what I'm going to bank on and hope on for that trade. I do believe Giannis will get traded. I think that if it's not the Knicks, I don't see it being OKC. Like realistically, regardless of whether it's Knicks or not, I personally don't see it being that. Like we can see, I value your opinions. I think it's thought out well, Lee. And like always, you have, reasons for your takes, and I respect them because they're backed up in actual basketball IQ. But I personally don't see OKC going all in when they already are, in the 95 percentile of teams that will probably win a chip currently as they're constructed. But we'll see. Only time will tell. And so I appreciate both of you guys. If you guys don't know who these two guys are, I don't know what rock you're living under, but these are two of the best to ever do it in the game. This is my guy, Lee Escobedo, the Latin assassin. We don't always have to agree. A lot of times we do. Sometimes we don't. And that's what makes me his brother. And we love each other regardless, because at the end of the day, neither one of us know where Giannis is going. And at the end of the day, we can pull receipts when it happens on each other and we'll laugh about it and we'll keep going. And this is Jay Ellis, who is the mastermind behind this whole thing. He is pretty much Pinky. No, he's more so the brain of Pinky and the Brain.
I'm both sometimes.
Created this channel for all of us to be able to chop it up on. So I appreciate the over 300 plus of you that have been rocking with us for hours, but it is 11:36 and my wife needs to go to bed and I'm in the room taking up all the internet and taking up all the space. So I'm going to get off and we're going to chop it up. But once this Giannis trade actually happens, I will definitely have these two guys on the show where I can either say, I told you so, or I can say, dang, I had no clue what I was talking about. Congratulations, Lee and Jay. So when that time comes, I'm looking forward to it because I do believe Giannis is on the move. Where he goes, only time will tell. I appreciate you guys. And until next time, God bless. Like always, drink responsibly. And let's hope that we get this W this week. Because honestly, if not, I'm going to be really upset because marketing is great, but it's the freaking Utah Jazz. Let's not have any excuses for why we don't win that game. So I appreciate you both. Follow Lee, follow Jay, subscribe, like, repost, and every single night after the game, you can find these two masterminds giving down their breakdown of the game with the other incredible masterminds, such as B, who also is a huge Mikhail fan, and I love her for that. My guy Fritz, the moderator of all moderators. My guy Ryan G, that though he is very soft-spoken and chill throughout the whole episode, can have some of the most basketball takes that will blow your mind. And that guy is incredible to follow as well as our girl, Ebony, who is one of the best basketball minds in Knicks fan base. So appreciate you guys all. God bless. Drink responsibly. Thank you to Todd. Thank you to David for being on the episode. Thank you to Shooting Doubles for this hat. Thank you for Brooklyn Dreamer for this awesome shirt. And until next time, God bless.
This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stay down, never switch.